As soon as the 3 days were up, Wang Lan appeared outside the valley on time. Senior, you're so punctual. Kid, stop telling me useless things. Have you prepared the things you said? As soon as Wang Lan arrived, he started asking for the giant spirit fruit. Li Yuanqing had naturally prepared this treasure long ago. The mountains of fruits in his domain space were enough for Wang Lan. Li Yuanqing did not answer his question. Instead, he asked, I've already discussed what Senior wants with that old man. I've also brought some over. However, Senior, you might not have prepared what I want, right?
Wang Lan snot Li.
With a flip of his hand, hundreds of sparkling spirit stones appeared in his palm. He casually placed these spirit stones on the table and looked at Li Yuanqing indifferently. Kid, at the auction back then, I bought your 2 giant spirit fruits for 50 spirit stones. Since I'm making this deal with you directly, let's be more straightforward. I'll give you 15 spirit stones for each fruit. What do you think? These 15 spirit stones were already a high price. The advantage of the giant spirit fruit was that it was big enough, and the power inside was purer than the smaller ones. On the other hand, Li Yuanqing had also estimated that the energy inside was only worth more than 100 fire spirit fruits. Logically speaking, selling it for 6 to 7 pieces was a very reasonable price. 15 spirit stones were because he sold the giant spirit fruit as another material, so the price was raised. I had a good chat with Senior. This price is fair. Then I wonder if you can represent the old gentleman's thoughts? Senior, you've already made a deal with me once. Why do you still ask such a question? Wang Lan pursed his lips noncommittally and picked up the gourd to take a sip. He looked more relaxed, as if he had nothing to worry about this deal. Here are 150 spirit stones. It's half. Take out all the goods. After I check them, I'll naturally give you the other half. Senior, is the amount you want so big? Why? Aren't you ready? No, I expected it, so I prepared a little more. However, I'm still a little surprised. Wang Lan smiled and looked at Li Yuanqing. His eyes were also blurry, and he could not tell if he was really unconscious or not. How scheming are you? Then take out all the goods and let me take a look. Li Yuanqing flipped his hand and a pile of hot giant spirit fruits immediately appeared in the hut. These fruits were all extremely fat and emitted a rich fragrance, filling the entire hut. The moment these fruits appeared, Wang Lan's eyes widened. His eyes were originally not big because he was drunk, but now, his eyes were wide open and the greed in them was obvious. So many! Wang Lan could not help but walk up to the fruits and slowly touch them with his palm. The abundant spiritual energy in the fruits made him extremely excited. He even wished he could open the alchemy furnace now and refine all these fruits into liquid before turning them into medicine or pills. What a beautiful fire spirit fruit! Wang Lan could not help but lick his lips. He retracted his hand and immediately put all 20 fruits into his bag. The small house immediately became empty. All right, Wang Lan said without looking back, you're indeed bold. Senior, you flatter me. I'm just a middleman. It's fine if I have guts. Humph. If a cultivator doesn't have any methods, it's really rare for him to be so generous to others and directly offer treasures like you. Wang Lan turned around and stared at Li Yuanqing carefully. He pretended that nothing had happened and returned to the seat. He slowly sat down and drank another mouthful of wine. Where did your master die? How did you know this senior who planted herbs? You don't have to know about these, right? Ha ha ha. I was just asking casually. Just treat it as a joke. This deal is quite smooth. I like you very much. There should be many more chances in the future. Thank you for your reminder, Senior. Without you, I'm afraid I don't know where I can sell these herbs. Kid, you know how to speak, but there's no need to do this. With your fruit, you can be treated as an honored guest wherever you go. Even if I sell it to your Martial Yuan sect, I'm afraid your sect master will spend a lot of money to buy it. On the other hand, I really happened to encounter it. Wang Lan burped and looked up at Li Yuanqing, who slowly stood up and walked out unsteadily. Li Yuanqing suddenly stopped him. Senior, wait. Wang Lan turned around and narrowed his eyes at Li Yuanqing. Why? Do you have more? Li Yuanqing smiled and walked forward. To be honest, I only brought these many fire spirit fruits. However, On account of your generosity, I have another gift for you. A gift? Li Yuanqing placed his hand behind his back mysteriously. A light flashed behind him, and the purple halo seemed to have gathered into a purple river. It was so dense that one could not open their eyes. Li Yuanqing smiled and brought the treasure behind him to the front. It was almost impossible to hide this thing behind him, and it looked even thicker when he took it. Purple dragon root? Wang Lan's eyes widened as he looked at the thick thing in front of him in disbelief. The thickest of the ordinary purple dragon roots was only half the size of a small arm. However, this purple dragon root was not only as thick as a thigh, but it was also twisted into a huge lump. If it was straightened, it would probably be as long as a person. This was not the purple dragon root. This was a giant. Even though Wang Lan was so old and knowledgeable, he could not help but be shocked when he saw this thing. Senior? Li Yuanqing could not help but call out to him. Only then did Wang Lan react. His lips were trembling slightly, and he looked at Li Yuanqing strangely. This? He no longer knew what to say. He had already placed the thick purple dragon root into Wang Lan's arms. Senior, I specially brought this treasure for you. Old Master said that he hopes that our cooperation in the future will still be so smooth. Wang Lan held this treasure in his hand. He found it difficult to believe that this was true. This was simply too exaggerated. The market price of the purple dragon root was much higher than that of the fire spirit fruit. After all, the production was limited, and the growth speed was much worse than the fire spirit fruit. Generally speaking, the purple dragon root was 100 times more expensive than the fire spirit fruit. However, the spiritual energy contained in it was also very lacking. The purple dragon root was a necessary ingredient for many high-level medicinal pills, causing its price to rise. Who exactly is this old man? He can nurture the purple dragon root to be so thick, and the spiritual energy inside is even denser. Wang Lan finally confirmed that the purple dragon root belonged to him, so he played with it lovingly. The more he sensed the spiritual energy inside, the more shocked he became. He had never thought that there would be such a magical medicinal herb in this world. He had been refining pills for his entire life and was shocked like a fledgling. Li Yuanqing smiled and replied, "Old Sir is a very low-key person. He has never told me about the past, so it's not convenient for me to ask." "That's fine. I was just asking casually. I definitely didn't mean to offend this old gentleman. It's best if Senior can understand. Is this really for me?" Wang Lan took out another 20 spirit stones. "This treasure is too precious. I'd better buy it." Li Yuanqing had no intention of accepting the money. He only smiled at Wang Lan. "Senior, you're too polite. Old Sir has always been a man of his word. Since he said that it's a gift, I don't dare to accept this spirit stone." "Yes, you're right. I was rash." Wang Lan came to a realization. He wiped the sweat off his forehead and stood there nervously like a lost student. "Then I wonder what kind of treasures or pills he likes. If I can, I'll try my best to get some for you." Li Yuanqing rubbed his chin and thought for a while. This was a good suggestion. "I don't know what he likes, but the next time I see him, I can help you ask this." "That's the best. Thank you, young friend. If you need anything in the future, feel free to look for me. Although I'm a little old, I still have some reputation." Li Yuanqing really had such a plan. He followed Wang Lan's words and said, "Since Senior has said so, I won't hide it anymore. I've always been curious why Senior wants so many fire spirit fruits." Wang Lan had just accepted such a precious treasure from Li Yuanqing, so he had no intention of hiding it from him. He said bluntly, "Actually, this fire spirit fruit is a necessary item for fire attribute spiritual energy cultivators. The little fire pills and fire yellow pills refined with it are necessary items for these cultivators. Those of better quality won't have to worry about sales." "I see. Not only that, but it can also be used to refine some fire attribute consumables. For example, the fire spirit pill and the explosive flame pill are very powerful consumables. Throwing out a few at the lowest point can create a certain degree of chaos and damage. They are treasures that all kinds of cultivators are very fond of." It sounds like a really good thing. Li Yuanqing had so many fire spirit fruits on hand and was worried about how to exchange them all. It was impossible for him to keep selling these fruits for a living. Although this fire spirit fruit could be sold for a good price and save time and effort, it was not as good as personally refining pills to earn more. Moreover, this huge spirit fruit was too big a target. It would definitely not be appropriate if he sold it wantonly and exposed himself one day. Wang Lan took out a red pill with many flame patterns on it. The small pill kept twisting as soon as it was taken out. It looked very unstable. It was obvious at a glance that this fellow was not to be trifled with. On a closer look, the twisted energy outside the small pill was too dense, causing the space to twist slightly. Li Yuanqing took the fiery red pill. It was definitely impossible to figure out the prescription with just a few glances. He had to think of a way to get this prescription out. Wang Lan looked at Li Yuanqing's interested expression and leaned over with a smile. If you like it, this fire spirit pill will be my gift to you. I'm afraid that's not very convenient. I didn't do anything. I'm just a messenger. Senior, you don't have to give me such a precious gift. What are you talking about? It's just a small pill. It's not a precious gift at all. If you like it, I can leave some for you when I'm rich next time. Li Yuanqing still refused. Senior, this is really inappropriate. I've already received benefits from you too as an intermediary. Wouldn't I be lying to old sir if I accept yours? How can this be considered lying? Wang Lan explained, it's just a small gift from me. Even if the old sir finds out, he won't blame you. Li Yuanqing pretended to be very conflicted and looked at Wang Lan. Senior, you really can't do this. I didn't expect you to be so persistent. I was too rash. However, I've always had some achievements in alchemy. Although my master left early, he taught me a lot of alchemy before he left. It's just that I haven't refined a good pill for a long time, so my hands are a little rusty. I find the fire spirit pill quite interesting. I wonder if Senior can take out this prescription so that I can practice it in my free time? Wang Lan suddenly laughed when he heard Li Yuanqing's words. So you like the pill formula of this fire spirit pill? Actually, this pill formula is not a secret. Many alchemists have the formula for the fire spirit pill. I have my own set of formulas. Although it is not one of the best, it is definitely top grade. Then what do you mean, Senior? Although this is the life of an alchemist, I'm already old. It's useless to guard these lousy things. If you like it, I'll give it to you. Thank you, Senior. With your fire spirit pill, I believe I will be able to join the alchemy pavilion more smoothly in the future. Wang Lan suddenly thought of this matter and slapped his head. I really have some clues about the alchemy pavilion. In the domain space, Li Yuanqing was sitting upright in front of the golden alchemy furnace. His body was emitting a thick fog and was covered in sweat. In the alchemy furnace, a red flame kept flickering. Li Yuanqing stared at the fire with burning eyes, not daring to look away for a moment. Below the alchemy furnace was an entire ball of flames. The flames spat out faint purple flames that emitted a scorching temperature, roasting the entire alchemy furnace to a very high temperature. This flame was very simple and crude. It was a spiritual fire produced by the fire seed and spiritual power. This kind of fire was more natural and barbaric, and it was slower to control. The flames produced by the array formation that Wang Lan used were even more special. It was also the fire that the alchemists in the immortal world liked to use the most. Only by controlling every trace of precision could they satisfy the precision needed to refine pills. However, most of those flames were consumables that needed to be bought again after they were exhausted. Usually, creating such a flame array formation and selling it was exclusive to the Fire Refinement Pavilion. Li Yuanqing had only heard of the Fire Refinement Pavilion recently. This was the Weapon Refinement Pavilion of the Immortal World. This was because the weapon refinement masters in the immortal world valued flames the most. They worshipped flames and became the most respected core. Therefore, fire was the sacred artifact of weapon refinement masters. That was how the Fire Refinement Pavilion got its name. The Fire Refinement Pavilion was spread throughout the entire immortal world. It could be said to be the top two organizations with the Alchemy Pavilion. Most of the other human organizations were in the form of sections. These sects might have their own strengths, but generally speaking, they were more balanced and had complete functions. Because of the special nature of the alchemist and weapon refinement master professions, it was easier for them to form a special alliance through a certain connection. That was why these two alliances could exist for so long. Moreover, even if you were an alchemist of a large sect, you had to have the test of the alchemy pavilion to be considered official. Li Yuanqing originally only considered joining the alchemy pavilion as soon as possible. However, after Li Yuanqing obtained the formula for the fire spirit pill, he could not help but start refining it. Then, he discovered a problem. The fire and alchemy furnace that was considered top-notch in the lower realm, however, when he used it to refine the herbs and prescriptions here, it seemed like it was not enough. In particular, the power of the huge spirit fruit was especially violent. It almost destroyed his alchemy furnace. It was also because of these unstable factors that Li Yuanqing had failed the first experiment. He had even lost a huge spirit fruit, making his heart ache. The third batch was about to be completed. He believed that this batch would definitely bring about a good outcome. The medicinal liquid inside became thicker and thicker and was about to condense into a ball. After that, it would become the fire spirit pill he needed after a simple roasting. Li Yuanqing flipped his hand over the flames below and suddenly spat out a large ball of flames that enveloped the entire alchemy furnace. After a few seconds, the flames quickly subsided. As the flames decreased, the fog gradually weakened. One could see that the liquid inside had been divided into dozens of evenly sized balls. Li Yuanqing was also overjoyed as he looked at the fire spirit pill that was gradually taking shape. This fire spirit pill was not a complicated thing. However, Wang Lan had added a lot of improvements. He added all his understanding and raised the difficulty of refining the fire spirit pill to a new level. Li Yuanqing had a deep knowledge of pills. He could tell that there was something strange about this prescription at the beginning, but he still decided to follow the steps on it in detail. Although this was very dangerous, fortunately, he was about to succeed. Little Man and Hu Jujio gradually woke up after a day of sleep. Their auras had changed a little, and their personalities had changed. Hu Juju lay diagonally behind Li Yuanqing. Her figure was as soft as flowing water, and her eyes were filled with autumn waves. The aura on her body was also fluctuating, and she did not look too stable. Little Man returned to her true form. The thick vines kept entangled and collided with each other. For some reason, after Little Man woke up this time, she seemed to have a strong desire to attack. She had destroyed many plants just now. If Li Yuanqing had not stopped her, Little Man would probably still be releasing her urges. It was as if Little Man wanted to destroy everything she saw now. There was a very violent aura in her heart. As for the two little dolls, they had also become even more lazy. They were originally affectionate and normal, but now they have become two round balls. They lay there without moving. They only cared about eating all day long. The problem was that their cultivation seemed to have stopped after they ate a lot of treasures. Their growth speed was much slower than before. Li Yuanqing was still a little worried that all those treasures had been wasted. He vaguely connected these changes to what Wang Lan had said. If the thing produced by this potion really magnified and weakened some other aspects, it would be impossible for Li Yuanqing to watch Hu Jujio and the others become strange. Moreover, this strangeness was not as simple as it looked. After it became uneven, their cultivation progress became much slower. At this moment, a muffled sound came from the alchemy furnace. The flames under the alchemy furnace gradually calmed down, and the thick smoke gradually dissipated. Li Yuanqing waited quietly for a moment. Suddenly, he flipped his hand and imitated Wang Lan. He flipped open the lid of the alchemy furnace, and dozens of fire spirit pills flew out of the furnace one by one. After these pills circled in the air, they headed towards Li Yuanqing. Finally, they landed in front of Li Yuanqing and stacked into a square. Li Yuanqing looked at these fire spirit pills in satisfaction. The quality of these things was much better than he had imagined. He took out a fire spirit pill and threw it at an empty space that had already been prepared. After the fire spirit pill landed, it exploded with a bang. The aftermath of the explosion hit Li Yuanqing's body, causing him to take 2 steps back. He looked happy and satisfied as he looked at the pitch-black pit that had just appeared in front of him. This fire spirit pill was really a good thing. Although the refinement was a little complicated, the effect made Li Yuanqing very satisfied. A small fire spirit pill had such power. If he refined more, dozens or hundreds of them would explode at the same time. No matter how powerful the enemy was, they would probably not be able to withstand such a momentum. Li Yuanqing took out a white jade box and carefully packed up all the fire spirit pills. He was originally worried that Wang Lan would hold back and cause him some trouble. However, from the looks of it, Wang Lan was quite generous. He took out such a private secret formula at once and let Li Yuanqing produce such a high-quality fire spirit pill so easily. Li Yuanqing looked at the box in his hand and could not help but recall the scene he had seen in the black market last time. It seemed that everything in the black market was sold. If he could find some useful prescriptions, wouldn't he be able to try more? He felt that he was getting more and more familiar with his skills. However, he did not know how strong the test of the alchemy pavilion was or how good he was. With this thought in mind, Li Yuanqing left the domain space. He had originally planned to let Little Man and the others out after they were prepared and slowly adapt to the environment of the immortal world. However, now that such a thing had happened, Li Yuanqing had no choice but to postpone his original plan. He might have to wait until he finds the legendary Lord Wangu and treat their illnesses first. A gray-robed figure quickly left the Juyuan medicine garden. After leaving, this person headed south, taking especially remote paths. He turned left and right, making countless turns. Finally, he stopped in a very quiet valley and found a very hidden cave abode. This cave abode was one of the cave abodes he had built last time. After all, there were many experts in the immortal world. It was better to restrain himself here. He would not be targeted if he was so cautious. An hour later, Li Yuanqing walked out of the cave abode and returned to his previous appearance. Now, he is Zhao Tian, Golden Bamboo Mountain. There was laughter coming and going in the forest. It was a lively scene. Ever since that huge fire spirit fruit appeared on the Golden Bamboo Mountain last time, the black market of the Golden Bamboo Mountain had inexplicably become popular. Many old customers slowly ran back and waited here every day. They all wanted to see what this fire spirit fruit was. After all, it had been so many years since something new had appeared. This huge spirit fruit was so famous, but it was really something new. Shan Ke walked out of the secret passageway with a smile. 2 more rash fellows had just arrived. He liked these inexperienced fellows the most. They could let him earn a lot of money from them. Moreover, he could be considered to have some achievements now. Last time, it was the 2 of them brothers who discovered that strange guest. He was also rewarded a lot because of this. Now, among the unrelated people who were soliciting customers outside, he could be considered to have a small status and had become a small leader. Business was good today. Ever since that guy came, this place had become more and more lively. Just as Shan Ke's smug light barrier was aimed at his next target, a familiar face suddenly appeared in front of him. That person was thin and tall with a very strange mask on his face, but it could not hide much of his characteristics. From afar, one could see that guy's thin face. He was very familiar with this person. When Shan Ke saw this familiar face, he immediately pulled his brother along. "Sir, you're finally here." The 2 brothers sandwiched Li Yuanqing in the middle. Li Yuanqing did not push them away. Instead, he smiled at the 2 of them. "Long time no see. My good brother, we missed you so much. You haven't been here for so many days. We thought you had somewhere else to go." Li Yuanqing smiled and thought about himself. The spirit-gathering fruit had indeed been sold elsewhere. It was probably not appropriate to sell it here anymore. It would be easy for Wang Lan to discover it. Shan Ke looked around warily and whispered into Li Yuanqing's ear, "Brother, more than half of the people here are here to look for you. You have to be careful. Is that so? You don't know that the treasure in your hand is a popular thing now. If you're discovered by them, you'll definitely be in trouble." Li Yuanqing nodded slightly and said to the 2 of them, "Then please help me keep the secret." Shan Ke patted his chest and promised, "My good friend, my good brother, who do you think I am? I didn't reveal anything about you." Although this guy was greedy and had almost cheated Li Yuanqing of a lot of spirit stones in the beginning, he was still honest and Li Yuanqing did not dislike him. "What do you mean? Did you bring that huge spirit fruit again today?" Shan Ke rubbed his hands excitedly. After the previous incident, Master Wu Yin had carefully instructed him to treat this person well if he came again. Moreover, they would have to rely on the spirit-gathering fruit to earn more spirit stones in the future. This was a big customer. Li Yuanqing replied apologetically, I'm afraid it won't be easy to get the giant spirit fruit. Why is that? When Shan Ke heard this, his expression immediately changed. Good brother, this huge spirit fruit is an extremely popular treasure now. If you sell it, you'll be selling it at a fair price. Don't sell it to others. You helped me sell it for such a good price last time. Of course I'm grateful to you. Why would I sell it to someone else? Then why is it gone this time?
Sanke said anxiously.
Master Wu Yin specially instructed that as long as you're willing to sell it to us for a long time, you can name the price. He can think of a way. Li Yuanqing smiled and rejected, It's not something I can decide. It's just that there has been a problem with the production recently. There are no ripe fruits. I see. Then why are you here? Could it be that you have other treasures? Li Yuanqing raised his hand very frankly, holding a bright red pill between his fingers. Shan Ke looked at the fire spirit pill and was stunned for a moment. Then, her eyes widened until they finally formed a circle. This is... Fire spirit pill? Master Wu Yin stared at Li Yuanqing in shock. He had originally thought that the master behind this kid was just a person who planted medicinal herbs. Who knew that this master actually had the ability to refine pills? However, the quality of this pill could only be considered excellent. It did not look like it was made by a master. Seeing that his performance was within his expectations, Li Yuanqing cleared his throat and asked, How much can you sell this fire spirit pill for? Master Wu Yin was watching when Li Yuanqing suddenly asked. He carefully replied, To be honest, these fire spirit pills have always been a rare treasure in our hands. As long as we take them out, we will definitely be able to sell them for a good price. However, I don't think these pills are of the highest quality. I'm afraid they can be sold for 6 to 7 spirit stones at most. Li Yuanqing nodded slightly. He still had some understanding of the pills he had refined. It was already not bad that he could sell this pill for 5 spirit stones. This was also because there were indeed too few fire spirit pills outside, so the price in their black market was higher. However, he was quite proud that a pill that he had casually refined was so popular. Master Wu Yin was constantly observing Li Yuanqing's expression, afraid that Li Yuanqing would show any dissatisfaction. He looked at Li Yuanqing, who was hesitating. In just a few breaths, he immediately became anxious. He hurriedly pulled Li Yuanqing and said, Sir, you don't have to be in a hurry. Let me think of something else. Perhaps I can raise the price of this pill. Li Yuanqing was just calculating how many materials he could refine if he refined all of them into fire spirit pills. This was a huge number. At that time, the spirit stones would probably pile up into several mountains. Just as he was thinking this, Master Wu Yin thought that Li Yuanqing was planning to sell it elsewhere and impatiently called all the people backstage over. Among them was the host on the stage. His fair and clean face was bright, and his entire face was filled with a bright smile. He was always polite when he saw people, like a shelf that was selling smiles. Changming, this is... Master Wu Yin was about to introduce him when he suddenly realized that he had never asked the name of the man in front of him. Li Yuanqing was a little surprised. Master Wu Yin immediately added, We place great importance on confidentiality here. If you're unwilling to reveal it, then forget it. Li Yuanqing had already thought of how to say it. He smiled and said, It's just a name. There's nothing to hide. I'm Zhao Tian. Nice to meet you. Brother Zhao, when do you think you can sell this fire spirit pill for a good price? Not to mention anything else in the auction house. The order in which the items were sold was also very particular. Whether an item could be sold for a good price or not was often directly related to the goods released before and after. Changming was the host on the stage, so he naturally knew everything. Changming took the pill and carefully looked at it. He looked at Master Wu Yin in surprise. He looked at Master Wu Yin and thought that it would be a high-quality pill. However, from the looks of it, this fire spirit pill was nothing much. Although the quality was not bad, it was not high-grade. There was no need to be so mysterious. Master Wu Yin winked at Changming, but Changming did not understand. This fire spirit pill, Changming whimpered. He looked back and forth between the two of them, not knowing what to say. Master Wu Yin grabbed his hand and said to him, Brother Zhao is our very precious customer. You must treat his things with the highest standard. Brother Changming, Think of a way to sell them for a good price. Master Wu Yan even carefully whispered a few words into Changming's ear. From the shape of his mouth, he was talking about the giant spirit fruit. When Changming heard these words, his eyes widened. He looked at Li Yuanqing with respect. So Brother Zhao is the owner of that huge spirit fruit. I was wondering why Brother Zhao was so talented. I could feel a dignified aura from you from afar.
Li Yuanqing pausa uquarli.
When this guy came over just now, he did not seem to know anything at all. Master Wu Yan had been reminding him for a long time before he finally saw it. It's nothing, but I think it's better to keep a low profile. I don't want anyone else to know. Of course. What our Golden Bamboo Mountain is most particular about is protecting the privacy of our customers. This matter will definitely not spread. Li Yuanqing had his own judgment about their guarantee. He had just returned from selling the giant spirit fruits when he bumped into Wang Lan. This privacy protection was almost gone. That's good. There are only 3 boxes of these pills now. There are a total of 200 pills. I'll leave them to you. Their fawning appearance naturally made Li Yuanqing realize that there were benefits. Since they were so willing to help him sell, he might as well take out more than half of the pills he had refined. Other than the small bottle just now, 3 square white jade boxes were placed in front of Master Wu Yan. Master Wu Yan opened the box slightly with trembling hands, revealing a crack. At this moment, an extremely dense fire attribute spiritual energy rushed out. It even burned a scorch mark on Master Wu Yan's finger. Not only did Master Wu Yan not dodge, but he even brought the charred piece of his finger to the tip of his nose and sniffed it deeply. He seemed to be immersed in it very much. After a long while, he opened his eyes and shouted, "Amazing!" As expected of a master. Although the fire is still a little lacking, the ratio of the medicinal herbs and the symmetry of the structure are second to none. After being scalded by this thing, Master Wu Yan became excited. This taste is really outstanding. It inevitably reminds me of a certain senior master who once did this. Wu Yan was interested and accidentally said this sentence. After saying that, he was suddenly stunned. He took out another pill and placed it in front of his eyes. He carefully observed that there were hands that spun around several times and muttered, "It's actually so similar?" Li Yuanqing looked at him and asked, "What are you talking about, Master?" Master Wu Yan hurriedly waved his hand and said, "It's nothing. I just feel that Brother Zhao's pill is somewhat similar to the technique of a master I'm familiar with. It might just be a coincidence. There's such a thing? I was just saying, Brother Zhao, don't take it to heart." Master Wu Yan closed the lid of the box again and said to Li Yuanqing solemnly, "Brother Zhao, our Golden Bamboo Mountain will take charge of these pills. In my opinion, if these fire spirit pills were sold in batches, the price would be higher. Why don't we auction it according to the quantity of this box? I believe we will be able to sell it for a good price." This fire spirit pill was very particular to begin with. Since it was a pill refined by the same person, its effect would be even stronger when used together. Therefore, the higher the consumption of the fire spirit pill, the better it was sold together. Li Yuanqing was also generous to take out so much at once. Although the quality might be a little bad, this selling point was enough to sell for a high price. "Let's do as you think. I don't know much about auctions." "Then please rest at the back, Brother Zhao." Li Yuanqing looked at the seats in the darkness outside and asked, "I want to sit on that stage." "Brother Zhao, do you want to buy some things back too?" "Not really. I mainly want to see more." "Then Brother Zhao, you can choose a seat yourself. However, there are a few seats in the middle that have been reserved by a few powerful people, so it's not easy to occupy them. As long as you're happy, it's fine." "Then I'll have to trouble Master Wu Yan with the fire spirit pill." "What trouble?" Master Wu Yan held Li Yuanqing's hand and said gratefully, "Brother Zhao, it's already a huge favor to us that you can bring these treasures to our Golden Bamboo Mountain to sell. I hope that our cooperation in the future will still be so close." After Li Yuanqing exchanged pleasantries with Master Wu Yan, he slipped out of the backstage along a small path and arrived at the unlit customer area in front. The next auction had yet to begin. There were not many people who came during this time. Only a few people sat sparsely. They sat in their seats and closed their eyes to rest, their bodies emitting faint spiritual energy fluctuations. "Master, who exactly is this person? Many sects are searching for that huge spirit fruit outside." Changming and Master Wuyan carefully sized up Li Yuanqing, who was walking around in front. Seeing that Li Yuanqing was about to turn around, Master Wuyan immediately pulled Changming to the back. This person's background is very mysterious. It's best not to provoke him. I think he must be the disciple of some master. As for this huge spirit fruit, only we have seen it before. Just ignore those large sections. Recently, many disciples of the sect have been guarding here in the black market. They all want to obtain the origin of that huge spirit fruit immediately. What should we do? What if we accidentally expose this person's identity? Master Wuyan glared at him and warned, "You can't expose Brother Zhao's identity. He's our money tree. If those large sects take the giant spirit fruit, we won't have anything left. They will all benefit." "You're right, Master." In the end, Li Yuanqing chose a corner. It was dark here and no light shone here. He liked this feeling of darkness. In front of the center of the stage were a few areas of different colors. Those were the regular customers here. They had long reserved seats. Loose customers definitely could not sit there. In the back, most of the people sitting had walked around outside or were guarding here with ulterior motives. They might not like the ordinary things sold in the black market. Some people might squat there for several days. During the interval, they would close their eyes and rest, slowly circulating their cultivation techniques. In front of Li Yuanqing, also near the edge, there was a person shrouded in darkness. His body was surrounded by a dark fog that completely enveloped him. No one's divine sense could easily penetrate him. This person sat there motionless. He seemed to have sensed Li Yuanqing's gaze and turned to look in his direction. Li Yuanqing looked straight at the dark fog. The two of them looked at each other through the black fog for a while. After looking at Li Yuanqing for a while, the black fog felt bored and turned back. There was a burly guy sitting in the middle. That person had a big ringed saber at his waist. His body and head were embedded with rings. When he twisted, his entire body would clang. His face was filled with muscles, and he looked murderous. That guy alone occupied the seats of two people. However, when they saw that his cultivation level was at the third or fourth stage of the supremacy realm, no one dared to provoke him. Further over was a very thin man. The guy was thin and tall, and looked very smart. His eyes were big and round. His nose was small and sharp, and his mouth was small. From top to bottom, these facial features were stuck to his face like an inverted triangle. The person had a small braid running down his head, just a small circle above his head. The places beside him were bare and very shiny. That person was very short and almost unnoticeable. However, Li Yuanqing had good eyesight. In just a short while, people arrived one after another. After they came, they casually found a place to sit. Most of them would lean forward. This place was still very spacious. After everyone arrived, they were unwilling to squeeze together, so most of them were separated. However, later on, more people came. The previous auctions were not so lively. Li Yuanqing remembered that he had seen many people when he came back last time, but most of them were separated by 2 or 3 empty seats. However, this time, as the people behind gradually arrived, the seats were slowly filled. Li Yuanqing was also shocked by this scene. Could it be that these people had gathered here because of his fire spirit fruit? Behind the stage, Master Wuyan revealed half of his body and discussed it with Changming. The two of them looked at the packed scene outside and were overjoyed. Recently, there have been a lot of customers coming and going. In addition, they had secretly spread the news of the treasure outside and attracted everyone. It's up to you now. Everyone. The scene gradually quietened down. Everyone's gaze gathered on the host, Changming, in the middle of the stage. Today, we have gathered everyone here because our golden bamboo mountain has attracted many treasures. We have also been under your care during this period of time. I hope that everyone can buy treasures here. The crowded people below were more or less impatient when they heard Changming's nonsense. Cut the crap and bring that treasure up early. Everyone is waiting. It's best to take out a few more fire spirit fruits to show your sincerity. What's the point of being so muddle-headed every day? That's right. That fire spirit fruit hasn't appeared for many days. Can your golden bamboo mountain still get it? Do you not have any now? Can the fire spirit fruit still appear? Could it be a show directed by you? Over the past few days, many people had vaguely guessed. Back then, These 2 fire spirit fruits were snatched away by that crazy old man as soon as they were released. Moreover, the forces behind this crazy old man were complicated. No one knew which side he was on. What if this crazy old man was with them and deliberately made such a thing? Seeing the situation below, Changming gradually pressed his hands down unsteadily. A graceful woman slowly walked out with a red cloth bag. Everyone, don't panic. There will definitely be more giant spirit fruits in the future. Why don't you take a look at such a treasure today? After Changming took the box, he lifted the red cloth on it. Everyone, take a look at what this is. With a move of his finger, he opened a crack. A very dense fire attribute spiritual energy immediately rushed around. This spiritual energy bounced back and forth above the entire area. In a short while, it turned into a huge fireball that jumped around in the sky. Wherever it passed, everyone avoided it. Just as Changming was watching the fireball run amok, a figure covered in a black cloak suddenly reached out and sucked the huge fireball into an abyss. Li Yuanqing kept staring. Although that person was covered in a black cloak, his hand was abnormally fair when he came out just now. He did not look like a man. Master Changming, there's no need to be mysterious. How much is this fire spirit pill? Name your price. Changming smiled at the person below and said to everyone, these fire spirit pills are rare items. In addition, there are 60 of them in this box. Wow, such a huge number? But are there really 60? If there are really 60, I want them. It's not your turn. The black-robed man in front slowly sat down. Changming looked at the enthusiastic people below and slowly said, everyone, you might not know much about this fire spirit pill now. I have to remind you that this fire spirit pill comes from the same client as that huge spirit fruit. What? Who is it? Hurry up and invite this expert out. Is this master here again today? The ground below was in chaos. Li Yuanqing looked helplessly at Changming on the stage. Those 2 fellows said that he had a way to sell the fire spirit pill for a high price. He thought that it would be a good idea, but he did not expect it to be this method. Changming made a hush gesture. Everyone. The crowd below immediately fell silent. They looked at Changming carefully, waiting for him to announce the identity of that master. Everyone, calm down. This master has always lived in seclusion in the deep mountains and is not good at interacting with others. He also doesn't want to reveal his identity. Therefore, I advise everyone not to have such thoughts. You only need to know that this master has already made a promise and will always trade with our golden bamboo mountain. That's enough. His words directly pulled Li Yuanqing onto their side. In addition, Li Yuanqing was so low-key that their golden bamboo mountain black market suddenly had a big signboard. Stop fooling me. There were even some who shouted at Li Yuanqing. Master, if you can cooperate with my Cloud Sky sect can directly provide an elder seat. Don't listen to his nonsense. Come to our Mountain Fire sect. You'll be the deputy sect master. What are you all arguing about? Master is a hidden expert and is not in the mood to join your lousy sects. However, my bones are amazing. I've been called a genius since I was young. If Master can take me in as a disciple, in the future, Master's skills will definitely spread throughout the world. The various crowds below immediately fell into chaos. Li Yuanqing couldn't help but think when he heard these shouts. Was his fire spirit fruit taken out? It was too abrupt. Their conditions were getting more and more ridiculous. If his identity was exposed, wouldn't he really become the target of everyone? Seeing that the shouting below was almost over, Changming still maintained his smile on the stage. However, there was still some worry between his brows. He could not help but look at Li Yuanqing. After Changming controlled his emotions, he said to the people below, these 60 fire spirit pills are in good condition. Sell them for 300 spirit stones. I'll pay 500 spirit stones. The person who spoke was the black-robed man sitting at the front. His voice sounded very hoarse, but it gave off an unreal feeling. I say, does Miss Wang have to be so ruthless? Can you give us brothers a chance? That's right. Your asking price is too ruthless. How can these brothers compete with you when you raised it by 200 spirit stones? Seeing that many people around him could recognize him, the black-robed man did not hide anything. She threw her cloak to the side, revealing a graceful figure. She was wearing a light yellow dress, and her head was covered in colorful flowers. There was a short sword at her waist. She turned around, and her pink face was flushed as she looked behind her aggressively. The cultivators warned, "I'm going to take the fire spirit pill today." When the cultivators behind heard her words, they only dared to complain softly. "Fine then. Do you have to be so threatening? If it's not because of your old man, who would give you this face?" These people from the big clans are really getting more and more impudent. They only dared to mutter softly, but someone from the VIP area in front stood up and looked at Miss Wang. "Miss Wang, your family has as many fire spirit pills as you want. Why do you want this? Why do you care?" This person could not keep the coldness on his face after being rebuked by the Wang clan's young lady. He snorted and showed his stance. "Why? I'm the young sect master of Fong North Mountain. Does Miss Wang not take me seriously at all?" The young sect master also took off his mask. He was a handsome young master. He waved an elegant fan and looked at Miss Wang unkindly. "Fong Zhou, stop pretending. Let's talk about it when you can break through to the supremacy realm. Why don't you go home and cultivate with your current cultivation level? How dare you come outside?" "You." Fong Zhou almost could not breathe after being rebuked by this Miss Wang. His face immediately turned red. He gritted his teeth for a long time before finally suppressing a smile. He looked at the miss of the Wang clan and said, "Wang Susu, don't be rude to me here. I just disdain to argue with a woman. When I break through to the supremacy realm, it will be the time for me to take you in as my dual cultivation partner." This Miss Wang's name was Wang Susu. When Wang Susu heard this, she was immediately furious. She waved her hands, and a huge fire phoenix appeared out of thin air, filling the entire hall. Master Wu Yan hurriedly jumped out from behind and sprinkled a handful of white fog down, freezing the fire phoenix and slowly dissipating. "Miss Wang, why are you doing this? The two of you are both from large sections. Why are you getting angry at my small auction?" Wang Susu held the short sword and glared at Fong Zhou. "You're lucky today. If you were to encounter me elsewhere, you'll definitely suffer." "Humph." Fong Zhou did not lower his stance. He looked at Wang Susu with a wicked smile. His eyes also roamed around Wang Susu's body fearlessly. "Wang Susu, I'm also warning you not to bump into me outside. Otherwise, don't blame me for proposing to Uncle Wang after I'm done." "You." Wang Susu was furious by his words. Just as she was about to flare up again, Master Wu Yan hurriedly comforted her. "Miss Wang, don't be angry. Since you're already here in the auction house, you naturally want to obtain the treasure. Now that the treasure is in front of you, why fight for it?" Fong Zhou looked at Wang Susu's angry expression with a smug expression. He had already achieved his goal. Therefore, he slowly sat down again and fanned himself proudly. 600 spirit stones. When Wang Susu heard his bid, she immediately stretched out a big palm. 700 spirit stones. Fong Zhou closed the paper fan and clapped his hands together. No matter how good the quality of this fire spirit pill is, it's only worth about a dozen spirit stones. I think these qualities are only SOSO. It's already a good price to sell it for 7 to 8 spirit stones. Our Miss Wang is willing to pay 700 spirit stones for 60 spirit stones. She's really generous. Wang Susu's price pushed everyone else down. Those itinerant cultivators did not have the strength of such a large family. The price had already reached such a ridiculous level, so it was not something they could participate in. Fong Zhou looked at Changming in the stands and reminded him, "Master Changming, Miss Wang has already raised the price to this point. Don't tell me you're still waiting for someone to raise the price." "Miss Wang, you're really forthright." Changming smiled at Wang Susu and said, "However, I still have to remind you at home. Actually, our auction house has a total of 200 pills on hand. We're divided into 3 batches. There are still 140 pills left." "What? There are actually so many at once? This is really a huge amount. If only there were more. I'm afraid we won't be able to fight for it today. What a pity. Too many descendants of the aristocratic families came today, but there's nothing for us." Changming smiled and took out a small hammer. He gently knocked it in the air, and a strange energy fluctuation spread out. 700 spirit stones once. 700 spirit stones twice. 700 spirit stones going thrice. Deal. Congratulations to Miss Wang for obtaining the first box of fire spirit pills. Only then did Wang Susu sit down. She crossed her arms proudly and looked at the stage. Beside her, a middle-aged man bent down and whispered something. Wang Susu raised a hand and said a few words firmly before falling silent. Li Yuanqing sat at the back and observed carefully. He could see everyone's every move. He was more or less curious about Miss Wang. Originally, he had only expected to sell it for 5 to 6 spirit stones. However, who knew that it would be sold for such a high price? This shocked Li Yuanqing. Perhaps it was because this spirit stone was related to the giant spirit fruit. However, this was only the two of them bragging. Among Li Yuanqing's batch of fire spirit pills, there were some that were refined with ordinary fire spirit fruits. Although he had also used 2 huge spirit fruits, they were not pure giant spirit fruits. Was this also suspicious of fraud? Just as Li Yuanqing thought this, he thought about it and realized that this matter was exaggerated by Master Wu Yin and the others. It had nothing to do with him. After the opening 60 fire spirit pills was an ancient long rope Dharma artifact. It was said that this long rope came from a famous person. However, because it was a little damaged, it was not sold for a good price. In the end, it was only sold for 60 spirit stones. Then, another compass was placed. It was said to be able to search for treasures in the world. A Dharma artifact of this nature actually had a unique refinement method. It was difficult to say how effective it was. Li Yuanqing took advantage of the fact that the auction was going enthusiastically in the middle to sneak out from the small passageway at the back. In the end, he circled around and quietly sneaked into the back of the stage from the other side. When Master Wu Yin saw Li Yuanqing enter, he immediately welcomed him happily. Li Yuanqing was frightened by today's situation. He quietly said to Master Wu Yin, "I'll leave the spirit stones from today's auction in your place first. I'll come and take them another day." "Brother Zhao, why are you in a hurry to leave? There might be 1,500 spirit stones this time. This is not a small sum." "It's fine. I'll leave it with you for the time being. In that case, I'll take care of it for you." After Li Yuanqing finished instructing, he carefully walked out from another passageway. A gaze slowly followed Li Yuanqing's back and landed on the darkness of the passageway. After Li Yuanqing left the Golden Bamboo Mountain, he headed west. After walking for a few hundred miles, a very steep mountain peak appeared in front of him. This mountain peak was like a sharp sword that pointed towards the sky. Li Yuanqing circled the mountain peak and finally found a hidden place. He opened a small cave abode and hid in it. After Li Yuanqing entered, the shape of the hole gradually blurred. In the end, it fused with the surrounding environment and was completely invisible. Li Yuanqing kept feeling that he had been targeted when he came out just now. This feeling made him feel very uncomfortable. Fortunately, no one was following him. However, he definitely could not go back directly. He would hide here for a while and return to the sect after the situation outside calmed down. It would be more appropriate. Li Yuanqing sat down cross-legged and a gray ball appeared in his hand. This thing was wrapped in a light yellow spiritual energy barrier. It looked like the roots of some plant, and there were many threads wrapped around it. This was the mycelium of the silver ring ointment. Li Yuanqing had bought it at the auction just now. This thing was useful, but no one was interested, so Li Yuanqing took it. The silver ring ointment was poisonous, so most of them wouldn't use it as medicine. Instead, some hidden weapons were more useful. After the silver ring ointment matured, the venom refined would be extremely poisonous. Even that small drop could easily poison a formation arrangement realm expert to death. If it was combined with a specific pill formula and refined into a more poisonous medicine, even a supremacy would probably not be able to escape. However, poison had its limitations after all. Experts above the supremacy realm had very agile reactions and senses. A very poisonous poison like this naturally had nowhere to hide in front of them. The reason why Li Yuanqing bought this thing back was not because he wanted to turn it into poison to fight the enemy. It was mainly because Li Yuanqing was still thinking about what Wang Lan had said last time. He did not know much about mushrooms. Since these little things could have a huge impact on little man and the others, Li Yuanqing still wanted to understand more. It just so happened that there was such an opportunity, and no one was willing to spend money to fight for this small mycelium. According to them, this thing should be able to survive after being planted. Their vitality was very strong. Of course, the effect would be better if they were planted together with specific trees. Mushrooms still had to coexist with trees. Li Yuanqing was still thinking about where to bring this species when he returned when a very powerful energy fluctuation suddenly came from afar. He quickly squeezed out of the altar and completely sealed his aura. More than 10 miles away from the mountain peak, a figure covered in a black robe stood in midair. Behind him were 2 middle-aged men. Opposite them, 3 men were blocking the way. The person blocking the way was none other than young Master Feng Zhou, who had a conflict with Wang Susu. A good dog doesn't block the way. The black-robed man who bumped into them said. This voice belonged to Wang Susu. When Feng Zhou heard her words, he immediately smiled from ear to ear. Wang Susu, what's our relationship? I'm in the mood for you to chat with me today. Why is our Miss Wang's temper still so bad? Why do you care? Wang Susu's hand hidden under the cloak suddenly attacked. It was a purple sword. It slashed out a faint purple sword light that stabbed towards Feng Zhou's face. Wang Susu's huge aura blew the cloak behind her, revealing her graceful figure. The expression of Feng Zhou, who was originally smiling mischievously, also turned cold. It was as if he had become a different person. A pure white jade treasure saber suddenly appeared in his hand. As soon as the white jade saber appeared, it surrounded Feng Zhou with an aura. Feng Zhou circled the sword around his body and completely gathered the scattered air beside him. It formed a thin shield in front of him. Go! He took the opportunity to slash the saber in front of him, and a dazzling saber light rushed back in Wang Susu's direction. The saber light and the sword energy collided violently in the middle. A majestic aura scattered in all directions. The surrounding smaller mountains were shaken by this aura, and a layer of skin fell off. A large pile of rocks slid down the hill. Li Yuanqing's mountain trembled slightly from the aftershock. Feng Zhou held the white jade treasure saber and looked at Wang Susu proudly. Miss Wang, you know that you're my woman. Why must you be so rough with your husband? Could it be that you know that your husband isn't such a petty person and won't argue with you? Feng Zhou temporarily had the upper hand in the first wave of the collision. He looked at Wang Susu with a smug expression. He sized Wang Susu up fearlessly. The more he looked, the more smug he became. His hand rubbed the back of the saber silently, as if he was touching Wang Susu's skin. Wang Susu looked at his flippant expression and immediately blushed in embarrassment. She raised her sword and was about to attack. At this moment, the middle-aged man on Wang Susu's right took a step forward and stood in front of her. The man looked at the 3 people standing opposite him with a dark expression. He cupped his hands slightly and said very politely, Elder Feng, Miss is still in a hurry to rush back to the sect. Please do her a favor and stop pestering her. A white-haired old man stood up and smiled at the person in front of him. Master Wang's cultivation has improved again. Congratulations. The man did not fall for it and looked at him. Elder Feng, I'm afraid you didn't stop us here just to say these congratulatory words, right? The old man looked a little bored. He restrained the smile on his face and said to them, Our young master is very interested in this fire spirit pill. Isn't your sect too arrogant? Why aren't you showing any mercy? Elder Feng, if you're here because of this, I'll apologize for our rashness just now. When Wang Susu heard this, she immediately leaned over angrily. Why should we apologize? It's clearly his mouth that stinks. He can't even say a good word. Miss. Wang Qiushan was a famous alchemist in the Cloud Sky sect and Wang Susu's master. Seeing that her master seemed to be angry, Wang Susu did not dare to retort. She only looked at her master aggrievedly. Today, we actually obtained the fire spirit pill and made young Master Feng return empty-handed. It's human nature for young Master Feng to be unhappy. As Wang Qiushan spoke, he turned to Feng Zhou and the others and said, Our miss usually has a bad temper. It's my fault for not teaching her. I'll apologize on behalf of her. Please forgive me. Unhappy? Fang Zhou looked at Wang Qiushan coldly before turning to Wang Susu. Master Wang, everyone says that you're skilled and gentle. You have the manner of a young master. However, I don't think you've taught your disciple your style well. Wang Susu gritted her teeth and looked at Fang Zhou. However, with her master blocking the way, she did not dare to say anything else. Fang Zhou already had the upper hand. Now, he was smiling proudly. Why? Is our Miss Wang unhappy? Fang Zhou grinned and laughed. He even arrogantly approached her. Miss Wang, if you're unhappy, feel free to say it. All right. Wang Qiushan frowned and glared at them as he warned. Our miss had already apologized. If there's nothing else, can you move aside and let us go back quickly? The sect master is still waiting for Mississippi. Is that an apology? Fang Zhou said relentlessly. Why don't I see that Miss Wang had that intention? Young master. Just as Fang Zhou was shouting proudly, the old man behind him walked up and blocked all the words Fang Zhou wanted to say. Fang Zhou looked at the old man in confusion. He clearly had the upper hand now. He did not know why he was stopped. The old man did not say anything else. He looked at Wang Qiushan directly and said, Master Wang, our Fang North Mountain has always been very respectful of an alchemist like you. You're quite famous. However, what happened today is not our grudge. It's just that this fire spirit pill is a little rare. You can't be so rude and unreasonable and take it all for yourself. Wang Qiushan seemed to have expected them to say this. He cupped his hands slightly and replied, Elder Fang is also interested in this fire spirit pill. However, I have a use for this fire spirit pill when I take it back. It's really not convenient for me to share it. Master Wang, you're so arrogant. What can you do to use 200 fire spirit pills at once? Fang Zhou was furious by Wang Qiushan's words. Elder Fang did not stop him this time. Instead, he said, We don't want much. You just need to give up one bottle. I don't think you'll be able to use so much after buying so many. Why must you take all these treasures for yourself? Elder Fang, please forgive me. It's fine if I can give up other things, but we indeed have other uses for this fire spirit pill. Please don't make things difficult for us. At this point, both sides' expressions turned ugly. Elder Fang looked at Wang Qiushan gloomily and said coldly, Master Wang, you mean that there's no room for negotiation? Fang Zhou gritted his teeth and looked at the few people opposite him. He shouted at the top of its lungs, Sixth Master, this person clearly doesn't care about our Fang North Mountain. That's why they're so arrogant today. If we don't teach them a lesson today, I'm afraid their Cloud Sky sect will be too arrogant in the future. Wang Qiushan did not say anything, but his eyes never left the other party. The hand that landed behind him also silently took out a golden whip. Wang Susu looked at her master and naturally protected her sword in front of her, ready to attack at any time. Master Wang, you just need to give up one bottle. How could our sect's old relationship end up like this? I advise you to think twice. Elder Fang, there's no need to say anything. We won't give up this fire spirit pill no matter what. I want to see where you get your arrogance from. As the old man spoke, he turned into a gust of wind and disappeared. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Wang Qiushan. The violent wind hit Wang Qiushan. Wang Qiushan swung his hand, and the golden whip in his hand turned into a long rainbow that forcefully split open a gap in the violent wind with a bolt of lightning. In the violent wind, the old man appeared. At this moment, the hair on his body danced with the wind. Coupled with his fluttering robe, he looked like he had fused with the wind. The wind kept spinning and turned into a huge tornado with a diameter of more than 10 miles, surrounding the Wang family. Among them, countless vengeful spirits wailed and let out miserable and ear-piercing roars. From time to time, they would jump out of the vortex and stare at the three people inside. A golden barrier of light appeared around the three members of the Wang clan. This golden barrier shone on them and swayed with the wind. In this huge tornado, they looked as small as a golden light spot. Wang Qiushan, we, the Fang North Mountain, have always been tolerant of your Cloud Sky sect. I didn't expect that our tolerance would be in exchange for your contempt. Is this how your Cloud Sky sect does things? Seeing that the matter had already come to this, Wang Qiushan no longer hid anything. He pulled his Taoist robe away and turned into a cloud that circled the sky before landing at their feet. Fang Qianyuan, you're good. I've repeatedly tolerated you on account that you're my senior, but I didn't expect you to provoke me everywhere and insist on being so hostile. If I don't show some ability today, you'll really bully my Cloud Sky sect. As soon as he finished speaking, the clouds under his feet suddenly flew forward and entered the vortex in front of him. As soon as he rushed in, the golden whip in his hand turned into a dazzling golden light that charged left and right in the vortex with lightning. In the violent wind, the armored malicious ghosts were struck by the golden lightning. All of them let out tragic wails and kept hiding. However, this hiding was useless. The golden lightning seemed to have eyes as it kept chasing forward. When it caught up to the malicious ghost, it smashed down fiercely. Once those malicious ghosts touched this lightning, they would immediately be shattered into pieces. For a moment, Wang Qiushan rushed left and right in the huge tornado with an arrogant aura. In reality, Li Yuanqing had secretly sneaked out of the cave abode. This fellow's violent wind was too powerful, causing the entire mountain to tremble. It might even blow up his mountain. Li Yuanqing fled a few miles back and stopped behind a small hill, silently observing the battle ahead. When these two fellows attacked, the commotion was too great. Li Yuanqing did not have the time to interfere. Fortunately, no one had discovered him yet. He could hide here for a while and perhaps obtain some benefits. Just as the golden light spots were charging arrogantly inside, a bolt of lightning suddenly descended from the sky and struck the tornado. The golden light that was trying to escape from the intense conflict inside bumped into the lightning on its way out and was hit. This huge bolt of lightning struck the golden barrier until it was on the verge of collapse. With a cracking sound, the golden barrier shattered into stars. The moment the golden light was shattered, Wang Qiushan could not help but bleed from the corner of his mouth. He had used a lot of effort to show off and wanted to take the opportunity to escape. However, he did not expect that all his actions were within the other party's calculations. Just as he was about to escape, someone had already calculated his path. This bolt of lightning landed and injured his mind. Master, are you all right? Wang Susu pounced on Wang Qiushan.
I'm fine.
Guard the side and don't let them take advantage of you. Wang Qiushan pushed Wang Susu away and took out a handful of pills from his pocket. He stuffed them into his mouth and swallowed them all. Then, he took out a green turtle shell and threw it into the sky. The green turtle shell suddenly expanded in the sky and became the size of a small boat. The opening tilted down and erupted with a strong suction force, sucking the three of them in. The clouds below spun around the periphery of the turtle shell, turning into a layer of fog that surrounded the periphery of the turtle shell. This little turtle shell was originally very heavy, but after being wrapped by the clouds, it instantly became agile. This time, they were not as rash as before. They first circled the spot a few times before suddenly flying in a direction. Sixth Master, quickly capture them. They're about to escape. When Fang Zhou saw this scene, he immediately panicked and hurriedly pulled the old man's arm to urge him. Fang Qianyuan snorted coldly and looked at the people in the storm. Let's see where you can escape to. Following his order, the originally clear sky was suddenly covered by dark clouds. All the light was instantly covered by dark clouds. Water the size of eggs fell from the dark clouds one by one. Accompanied by large amounts of lightning, they poured into the storm below. The turtle shell was like a duckweed floating in the sea. It was very agile, sometimes to the left, sometimes to the right. From time to time, a group of skeleton soldiers would wave their weapons and slash at the turtle shell. Although their slash only left a shallow mark, Wang Qiushan was facing an endless number of enemies. The seemingly hard turtle shell also vaguely swayed. At this moment, another person who had not made a move since the beginning whispered, "Dawn, help me." "All right." The person called Dawn immediately took action and a black blanket rose from his hand. After the blanket appeared, it rose into the air and disappeared into the clouds. After a moment, the clouds suddenly trembled, and an incomparably huge dark cloud condensed. The dark clouds formed by Fang Qianyuan beside him condensed into a ball. The two large dark clouds split into two forces, and a very clear crack appeared in the middle. The dark clouds that were originally a distance away slowly and firmly approached each other. As the distance between them gradually narrowed, an incomparably powerful force slowly condensed. Among them, a bolt of lightning filled with power was forming. Master! Wang Susu was suffocated by the powerful aura outside. She looked at her master helplessly, not knowing what to do. Miss, this old fellow must fight us to the death this time. Wang Qiushan's face was very pale. I'll send Miss out later. Miss, don't stop. Go back to the sect. But what about you, master? What should you do? It's fine. This old fellow can't do anything to me. Miss, remember not to look back. Wang Susu nodded heavily. Just as they finished discussing, the energy gathered in the two dark clouds above their heads was completely formed. An incomparably thick bolt of lightning sealed the turtle shell below and accurately struck it. The turtle shell shattered immediately. A purple light erupted from the shattered turtle shell and instantly rushed out of the storm at a very fast speed. After arriving at the periphery, a man came out from the purple light to guard the back. The light continued to fly into the distance, heading in the direction where Li Yuanqing was hiding. Sixth Master, don't let her leave. As Fang Zhou spoke, he followed after it. Fang Dan faced the Wang family's people. Fang Zhou did not care much and chased after Wang Susu. *Tsich, you offended me, and you still want to leave? Stay here obediently. Fang Zhou hooted as he sped up. Wang Susu fled extremely quickly. Even though he tried his best to chase after her, he could not close the distance between them. Li Yuanqing saw that the situation had become so delicate and hurriedly fled towards the west. He did not want to be involved in the battle between the two families. Therefore, the few of them escaped for hundreds of miles. Seeing that the two people behind him were getting closer and closer, Li Yuanqing hurriedly headed north. In any case, the feud between these two fellows was so deep that it had nothing to do with him. Wang Susu, who was in the purple light behind, was already slightly tired and had slowed down greatly. Wang Susu had noticed the man in front of her since just now. She originally wanted to ask this man for help, but she did not expect him to retreat to the side and run further and further north, as if he did not want to interfere. She glanced bitterly in Li Yuanqing's direction. Li Yuanqing was standing on a mountain peak and looking at the two of them expressionlessly. Initially, Li Yuanqing thought that Wang Susu would continue to flee west. He did not expect Wang Susu to change direction and run towards him. Li Yuanqing knew that something was wrong. He had not rested for long before he continued running west. Miss, I have no grudge with you. Why do you keep following me? I think you're a dignified man. You don't have any intention of lending a hand when you see a weak woman like me being chased like this? Li Yuanqing was not fooled. Miss, what has it got to do with me? I don't know anything about the feud between your two families. I don't want to interfere in the trouble between you. Just as the two of them were talking, Fang Zhou behind them caught up. When he saw Wang Susu meet up with someone, he roared angrily, Who are you? Are you with Wang Susu? Before Li Yuanqing could speak, Wang Susu immediately replied, This person is a subordinate that father found for me. If you want to capture me, you have to get past him first. As Wang Susu spoke, she reached out and threw out a silk scarf. Li Yuanqing did not notice and was blocked by the scarf. The scarf flashed and instantly wrapped around his body. Wang Susu used this opportunity to run far away, leaving Li Yuanqing behind. Although Li Yuanqing had already broken free at a very fast speed, he was still caught up by Fang Zhou. Fang Zhou took his white jade saber and slashed at Li Yuanqing's head. Li Yuanqing had just escaped when he immediately dodged to the side. He even drew his clear water sword and released a sword aura. The aura of Fang Zhou's treasure saber was extraordinary. It directly forced Li Yuanqing back. This made him extremely proud. That's all? You're just a scapegoat. Fang Zhou looked at Li Yuanqing coldly, treating him as a nobody. I'll kill you first before leaving. Get your miss out. From now on, this miss will be my plaything and at my mercy. Before Fang Zhou could finish his sentence, he raised his saber again and charged at Li Yuanqing. This is all a misunderstanding. Li Yuanqing did not want to continue arguing with this fellow, so he tried to explain. Misunderstanding? Fang Zhou looked at Li Yuanqing mockingly. I didn't expect your Wang family to be so timid. You always want to live. Young master, listen to me. That kid and I have never met each other before. I was just passing by. I didn't expect to bump into what happened between you two. These things have nothing to do with me. Fang Zhou had been chasing after him for a long time and was thinking of a place to vent his anger. How could he listen to Li Yuanqing so easily? He waved the white jade saber with an imposing aura. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Since you were bumped into by me today, you're unlucky. Whether you know each other or not, you'll die here obediently today. Li Yuanqing was speechless. He just wanted to watch the show. He did not expect the fire to burn him. Brother, I think your girl is about to disappear. I advise you to chase after her quickly. Otherwise, there will be nothing left. You don't have to worry. I know this in my heart. She won't be able to escape. Take this. Fang Zhou watched as the distance between the two of them narrowed and slashed at Li Yuanqing's back. At this moment, an image suddenly flashed before his eyes. There was only one Li Yuanqing in front of him. For some reason, it seemed to have suddenly become two. These two Li Yuanqing looked identical and fled in two directions. He happened to dodge his strike. This kid's figure was really agile. Good lord, he can still run. The two Li Yuanqing stood in two directions and stared at Fang Zhou silently. Brother, I say, pretend that nothing happened between us. I'm not interested in interfering in your nonsense. Fang Zhou frowned. He could not tell who was real and who was fake. Why did both of them look so real? Kid, you actually have such a clone technique. Where are you from? You can't be a nobody. Li Yuanqing cupped his hands slightly and said with a smile, Brother, I'm just a rogue cultivator with no sect. However, I did happen to bump into you today and have nothing to do with the two of you. I think we should just let it go. What do you think? Fang Zhou glanced in the direction Wang Susu had left. At this moment, Wang Susu was only left with a light spot. She was about to disappear. He had originally thought that he could easily deal with this kid in front of him. Who knew that this guy actually had some tricks up his sleeve? It would be difficult for him to deal with him for the time being. His eyes darted around as he silently sized her up. Suddenly, he smiled. I see. In that case, I won't argue with you anymore. Just as Fang Zhou was about to leave, he suddenly thought of something. He turned around and cupped his hands at the two of them. He pretended to ask casually, May I know your name? We can be considered friends after a fight. Suddenly, Li Yuanqing, who was on his left, cupped his hands and replied, I'm Zhao Tian. I'm just a rogue cultivator. I'm lucky to be able to get to know you. Fang Zhou's eyes darted around. Suddenly, the long saber on his back slashed heavily at Li Yuanqing on the left. Let's see where else you can run this time. He slashed over with a wild smile on his face, as if he had seen through everything. The white jade saber immediately landed on Li Yuanqing's body. Just as the saber was about to reach Li Yuanqing's body, it cut his body into two. Even a Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal would not be able to save him. However, at this moment, Li Yuanqing's figure suddenly flashed and his body rapidly shrank to the size of a palm. Fang Zhou's pupils constricted. He looked at the empty space in front of him and wanted to turn around again, but it was too late. Countless black threads instantly wrapped around his hands and feet, forming a cold sword light that pierced through his back and chest. Fang Zhou looked in disbelief at the sword light that had appeared on his chest. His divine sense flickered above his head as he tried to escape, but he crashed into the dark altar above his head. On the other hand, the divine sense that escaped from Fang Zhou's head turned into fragments under the suppression of the soul suppression altar. It was sucked into Little Dot's mouth and his soul dissipated. Li Yuanqing heard a miserable roar behind him, followed by a powerful force that quickly approached him. Li Yuanqing slowly pulled the sword out of the back of Fang Zhou and kicked him. This insufferably arrogant young master had now become a limp corpse that casually fell into the dense forest below. A very exquisite storage bag and 2 storage rings inlaid with huge gems appeared in Li Yuanqing's hands. He looked back in the direction he came from and put the things in his hand into his domain space. Then, he chased after Wang Susu without looking back. Fang Zhou was courting death. Who asked him to chase after him? Originally, Li Yuanqing had no grudge with him, and was not in the mood to interfere in the matters between the two of them. However, this young master did not seem to think so. Since he had to do this, he was asking for it. A pair of wings appeared on Li Yuanqing's back. He had obtained these wings from the lower realm. He couldn't care less now that he was running. He tried his best to increase his speed to the limit. On the other hand, Miss Wang had taken advantage of the fact that the two of them were fighting to enter the forest in the west. She had disappeared after a while, and there was no movement in the forest. Her aura seemed to have been hidden. Li Yuanqing followed the aura left behind by Wang Susu. It was unknown what Wang Susu was up to. He could not find any traces of Wang Susu at all. Logically speaking, if she continued to escape, she would definitely leave traces. However, the traces on Wang Susu's body had become very thin since she entered the forest. In the end, they were completely broken. Li Yuanqing stopped in an empty space. There were two ancient trees in front of him. They split to the left and right, leaving a passageway. Wang Susu's aura disappeared here. Li Yuanqing looked at the two ancient trees in front of him and suddenly became vigilant. He slowly leaned forward. Just as he was about to approach the ancient tree, a large black net descended from the sky and landed on his head. Countless vines suddenly stretched out from under Li Yuanqing's feet and propped him up, forcefully holding up the huge net. Li Yuanqing took advantage of this short period of time to flip over and jump to the periphery of the net. At this moment, the black net suddenly exerted strength and shattered the vines. However, it was too late. Li Yuanqing had already escaped to the periphery and missed. After twisting on the ground for a while, he slowly shrank and jumped back towards the tree. Two figures jumped out from the two ancient trees. A violent wind surrounded a person, stirring up a faint sandstorm that covered his figure and appearance. The other person was enveloped in black smoke. The black smoke was very deep and did not emit any light. On the black figure was a graceful body. It was Wang Susu. However, Wang Susu was already unconscious. It was unknown what had happened to her. She had escaped so quickly just now, but now, she had suddenly become like this. Li Yuanqing sized up the two people in front of him. A sword had appeared in his hand at some point. Mind your own business. Li Yuanqing did not know who said this either. He only heard one of them say this. The other man went on. Since you've already chased me all the way here, stay here. As soon as the two of them finished speaking, the man wrapped in the wind swayed and slowly fused into the wind in the forest. The violent wind kept circling Li Yuanqing, turning into a huge net that trapped him. The huge net was still shrinking, slowly shrinking like a fishing cage that was slowly closing in on Li Yuanqing. Seeing this, Li Yuanqing suddenly threw out his sleeve. Dozens of fiery fire spirit pills were instantly thrown out of his sleeve. An area in front of him instantly exploded. The power erupted by the fire spirit pill was very huge. The man in the wind was quite afraid of it and retreated a lot. When the power of the explosion gradually weakened, their gazes passed through the smoke produced by the explosion and finally landed not far away. Li Yuanqing was still the same. He held a long sword and stood there looking at them, as if he had no intention of taking the initiative to attack. The two of them looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. The reason why the two of them wanted to capture Wang Susu was because they had taken a fancy to the 200 fire spirit pills in Wang Susu's hands. Wang Susu was really too ruthless. She did not hesitate to buy all the fire spirit pills. It also made many people hate her. Naturally, many of them secretly targeted Wang Susu. One had to know that this fire spirit pill was refined from the legendary giant spirit fruit. If they could bring it back and study it thoroughly, they might be able to discover the secret of the giant spirit fruit. This was a huge temptation to all sects or individuals. However, at this time, someone suddenly took out another large pile of fire spirit pills and used so many of them without hesitation. It was difficult not to make some connections. This kid is not simple. No matter what his background is, since he has already seen what happened to us, he must die. All right, let's attack together later. Don't leave him any chance. After the two of them discussed, they slowly approached Li Yuanqing. The man in black fog casually placed Wang Susu behind him and a black dagger appeared in his hand. This dagger was the same color as his body. It could be said to be perfectly fused into one, and some very small wind blades slowly appeared in the wind beside the person wrapped in the violent wind. These wind blades were like willow leaves and as thin as cicada wings. They were very small. If one took them out alone, it would be easy to ignore them. However, wherever he passed, the leaves beside him were all minced, leaving only a pile of dregs on the ground. It could be seen how lethal these wind blades were. In terms of strength, these two people were not top-notch, but they were true supremacies. One of them was a first grade and the other was a second grade. Li Yuanqing watched as the two of them slowly approached him, but he had no intention of escaping. Instead, he stood there and raised the sword in his hand, preparing to fight accordingly. However, his reaction was nothing to the two people opposite him. This fellow's strength was only at the peak of the formation arrangement realm. Such a weak fellow actually dared to be so arrogant. Any one of them could deal with Li Yuanqing, let alone the two of them attacking together. It seemed that this kid's sensitivity was too low, and he did not react at all. That was why he looked so slow. As the two of them were thinking, they slowly made up their minds. They walked at the same time with great tacit understanding. When they were about to approach, the black shadow suddenly slowly lowered to the ground. The huge figure slowly stuck to the ground and flowed down like a pool of mud before seeping into the gaps of the grass. Then, the black shadow disappeared. The moment the black shadow disappeared, a violent wind instantly blew in all directions. An incomparably violent wind blew towards Li Yuanqing's face. The wind was mixed with countless blades. Wherever it passed, the trees were shattered, leaving only wood shavings on the ground. A golden shield appeared in front of Li Yuanqing, shining brightly. At this moment, the shield and the violent wind collided violently. Although the golden shield looked very sharp, it could not last long under the attack of the violent wind mixed with countless wind blades. In almost a few breaths, it was shattered. Li Yuanqing looked very panicked, as if he was at a loss about what to do when the shield in front of him shattered. He wanted to retreat. However, just as he was retreating, a black shadow slowly condensed from the ground and slowly transformed into a very simple figure with a very sharp dagger in his hand. This figure was less than a foot away from Li Yuanqing's back. The dagger quickly stabbed towards Li Yuanqing's back. This strike would definitely take Li Yuanqing's life. However, before the two of them could be smug about their victory, Li Yuanqing suddenly exploded like a balloon, releasing a gas that confused their eyes. The dagger in his hand missed. The two of them waved their hands and blew away the smoke in front of them. However, Li Yuanqing was nowhere to be seen. The ground was empty. The two of them looked at each other. Li Yuanqing, who was in the middle just now and was attacked from both sides, had already disappeared. Not good. The two of them hurriedly looked back. Wang Susu was no longer on the roots of the tree behind them. The two of them hurriedly rushed back. Wang Susu had been thrown here just now. The two of them had thought that they would be able to deal with Li Yuanqing in a while. Zhui Hun, what's wrong with you? The wind on the man's body became even stronger. He questioned the black fog angrily. The layer of black fog kept twisting, and it no longer looked like a human. It transformed into all kinds of shapes, but it could only stay on the spot in rage. You're asking me what's going on? Why don't you think about why you were played like this the first time you attacked? I'm confident that I can take him down, but the matter of taking care of Wang Susu has already fallen on you. How can you be so careless? You make it sound so nice. I don't think you have the ability to take him down. He's just a formation arrangement realm fellow. It's just a matter of time before I deal with him. Why are you so anxious? Now, the fat sheep that we painstakingly obtained has flown away.
Formation arrangement realm?
Does that guy look like he's at the formation arrangement realm? Both of us have been tricked. Zhui Hun, what's the use of saying this now? Zhui Feng, if you didn't talk so much, we wouldn't have to blame each other here. All right, cut the crap. Hurry up and chase after them. If we let that kid escape, our efforts will be in vain. Didn't you leave a mark on that little girl? Where is she now? Zhui Hun suddenly conjured a pitch-black hand. With a light touch of his chest, a black compass appeared. There was a pure white on the compass, but this dot was flickering in confusion. No one knew what it meant. It's broken. That guy has a way to isolate aura. I can't find her now. So it means that the two of us had worked for nothing? Zhu Feng was a little angry. They were about to succeed, but who would have thought that such a problem would happen? Just now, the two of them were discussing how to leave quickly and bring this little girl to a safe place. However, seeing that the person chasing after them was only a formation arrangement realm fellow, they wanted to end the battle quickly and deal with the kid behind them. Who would have thought that a formation arrangement realm fellow was not as simple as he looked? Not only did he successfully fool the two of them, but he also saved her and made them work for nothing. Zhu Hun stuffed the compass back into his chest and snorted coldly. It's fine. That kid's speed isn't fast. We're ahead of him now and blocking the outside of the Cloud Sky sect. If they want to go back, they'll be intercepted by us. If they don't go back, there will be a time when their aura will be exposed. At this moment, we can only do this. After the two of them discussed this, they were about to leave when their bodies were completely enveloped by a very huge force. A shout came from the sky. Where are you escaping to? The two of them could not move no matter what. An old man with red eyes and blood all over his body appeared out of thin air in front of them. Senior, the two of us are on your side. We're here to find trouble with the Wang clan. Zhu Feng hurriedly stepped forward and said. However, Fang Qianyuan could not hear his useless nonsense now. In front of Fang Qianyuan, these were enemies that had to be killed. A large saber in his hand was swung up and down. He flew down and slashed at the two of them. The two of them knew that something was wrong. They had been delayed here just now and were blocked here. They could not leave even if they wanted to. Old senior. Bastard. Pay with your life. A shadow flashed across the sky of the Phoenix Cry Valley. Li Yuanqing fled all the way from the forest. Seeing that the valley below was very strange and seemed to have a natural effect of isolating divine senses, he crawled in along the entrance of the valley. Outside the valley, the words Phoenix Cry Valley were written on the rock wall. The Phoenix Cry Valley was probably the name of this valley. Li Yuanqing did not know why such a valley had a name. Perhaps someone had already checked in here, but there were no signs of anyone reclaiming it outside. In addition, Li Yuanqing had already run out. It was so far away, and he only wanted to find a place to rest for the time being. He did not care so much and crawled in for the time being. Fang Zhou did not look like a simple fellow. The moment this kid died just now, the two old fellows behind him ran towards Li Yuanqing as if they did not care about their lives. Fortunately, the people from the Wang clan had some methods to help block them for a while. Otherwise, Li Yuanqing would probably be captured by those two old fellows and become fragments. Li Yuanqing crawled into the valley and saw a relatively hidden cave. The conditions here were very good. As a valley, it was not very open like other valleys. Instead, it was very narrow. Moreover, there were special rocks in the middle of the mountain. Those stones had a very strong effect of disturbing one's divine sense, so their aura would be largely concealed. Most of the area in the Phoenix Cry Valley was a dark swamp. Only the middle area that was exposed to the sunlight had very vigorous green plants and piles of flowers that emitted vitality. Li Yuanqing stood at the entrance of the cave and looked at the deep scenery outside. He slowly set up an array formation and covered the entrance. Wang Susu was lying in the depths of the cave. There was a simple foundation made of licorice.
Li Yuanqing sat beside Wang Susu.
He took out 2 handfuls of pills and stuffed them into his mouth. As he recovered their vitality, he looked at the sleeping Wang Susu. This Miss Wang had a proud figure. Just by lying there, her beautiful curves were unconsciously tugging at one's heartstrings. Li Yuanqing admired it silently and muttered to himself, "You brought trouble to me, and I saved you. Isn't it too much of a loss to repay evil with kindness?" Li Yuanqing chewed on those pills as he pondered, his eyes swimming around Wang Susu's body. This Miss Wang should have a lot of spirit stones on her. Putting aside the things that are stored in the storage rings, if he really cracked their storage rings, how would the two of them face each other? However, on second thought, this Miss Wang had just spent more than 200 spirit stones to buy all 200 fire spirit pills. This was also very supportive of his alchemy business. It was not impossible for them to be even. Li Yuanqing did not pay attention to Wang Susu anymore. Instead, he took out the storage equipment. The storage bag was filled with all kinds of materials and spirit pills. However, most of these were very basic medicinal pills. They were mostly used to recover spiritual energy and heal injuries quickly. They were all medium grade. These things were not very useful to Li Yuanqing. The greatest use they had was that they could be sold for a good price. Li Yuanqing transferred all these things into his domain space, leaving only a storage ring in his hand. As for the other storage ring, it had to be mentioned why Feng Qinyuan was so angry at Zhu Feng and Zhu Hun. 1,000 miles away from here, Qinyuan was holding two bloody heads in his left hand. One had a head full of gray hair, his face was pale, and his lips were trembling. The other's dark and gloomy face was also extremely gray now. Two streams of blood kept flowing down from his eyes. In Feng Qinyuan's other hand, a storage ring lay quietly. However, the ring was empty now. There was nothing left. Someone had taken everything inside. Feng Qinyuan had chased after his young master's aura and caught the two of them here. Coincidentally, his young master's ring was also left here. Therefore, he flew into a rage and beat the two of them up. Their bodies had already been completely destroyed, leaving only a wisp of divine sense that was still useful. Feng Qinyuan was even more furious. He had been used as a knife in his anger just now. Initially, he thought that he would be able to find the murderer of his young master by chasing after him. However, he did not expect that kid to be so cunning as to toy with him. Good kid. Feng Qinyuan gritted his teeth and looked in the direction where Li Yuanqing and Wang Susu had left. I'm irreconcilable with the Cloud Sky sect. He lifted the two heads with one hand and glared at Zhu Hun with his scarlet eyes. Tell me, where is he? Zhu Hun's eyes were red and his lips were trembling. A pitch-black compass landed in front of Feng Qinyuan. On the compass, a white dot of light flickered slowly. D. Feng Qinyuan only left behind this very sharp roar. Immediately after, he shattered a large forest like a cannonball. His body was like a scorching sun as he chased west. Li Yuanqing, who was in the cave, did not feel any danger at all. He had just lightly tapped all the treasures he had obtained and was holding a strange-looking bamboo tube in his hand. This bamboo tube was emerald green and looked like an ordinary bamboo joint. However, this thing was not ordinary at all. Although the aura emitted by this bamboo tube was hidden very deeply, one could see clearly that this thing was a genuine Dharma treasure. The biggest difference between Dharma treasures and Dharma artifacts was whether they could communicate. High-level Dharma treasures could even produce their own spiritual bodies. This bamboo tube did not have a spirit body, but it did not have any spirituality either. Li Yuanqing had only played with it for a while and understood the gist. This bamboo tube was actually a bamboo array. There were many changes inside. There were many array formations that could attack and defend. The effect was very outstanding. Li Yuanqing had only tried a few just now. The bamboo only needed to be gently activated to produce an array formation. It was like an upgraded version of the array formation used in the lower realm. The array formation rod that Li Yuanqing had made in the lower realm could release the array formation that he had set up in advance as long as it was simply activated. The effect was very obvious when facing the enemy. This bamboo tube had reached a higher level and condensed many array formations inside. Moreover, these array formations were not fixed. They were flexible based on the spirit body inside. It could be said to be even more powerful. This little thing made Li Yuanqing very happy. He did not expect Feng Zhou to have such a treasure. There was also the white jade treasure saber that Feng Zhou was holding. However, this saber was too eye-catching. Li Yuanqing would definitely not use this saber against his enemy. If he could sell this white jade treasure saber, he might be able to sell it for a good price. No matter what, this was a very good Dharma treasure. Moreover, it was the treasure of Feng North Mountain's young sect master. He really earned a lot of money on this trip. When Li Yuanqing came, he had a premonition that he would be able to make a huge profit this time. However, he did not expect that what really made him a huge profit was not the pills. The fire spirit pills had naturally opened up a market. In the future, he could rely on this fire spirit pill to earn a large sum of spirit stones. However, Feng Zhou was an unexpected windfall. This young master had contributed all his treasures to Li Yuanqing. Li Yuanqing casually placed the white jade treasure saber at the side and carefully studied the patterns on the bamboo tube, wanting to find the details of the bamboo tube array and see if he could break it. He was an outstanding array master after all. Although these things were profound, he did not understand them completely. The Dharma treasures of the immortal world were very different from the lower realm. The details and standards of production were countless levels higher than the lower realm. It could be said that every detail had to be extremely precise. The requirements for an array master's divine sense were also very high. While Li Yuanqing was studying it, he suddenly stopped because a woman was already holding the knife to his neck. If you want to kill your savior just like that, then do it. After Li Yuanqing finished speaking, he slowly rubbed the patterns on the bamboo tube and looked at the meticulous carvings. Wang Susu had woken up at some point and directly took the white jade treasure saber in her hand. Her face was pale, but her physique was strong enough. As soon as she woke up, she immediately wanted to counterattack. Savior? Wang Susu looked at Li Yuanqing in confusion. She did not believe that Li Yuanqing had saved her. I pushed you in front of Feng Zhou just now. You must have a grudge against me and want to take revenge. As Wang Susu spoke, she suddenly realized that the saber in her hand was the white jade saber of Feng Zhou. That confused her even more. Isn't this white jade treasure the treasure of Feng Zhou? Why is it in your hands? Who are you? Li Yuanqing reached out 2 fingers and pinched the blade, gently pushing the white jade treasure saber away. I say, Miss Wang, didn't anyone in your family teach you not to hold such a knife to someone's neck when you ask someone a question? Cut the crap. I'm asking you a question. Then what kind of answer do you want to hear from me, Miss Wang? Do you want me to say that I bear a grudge against you and want to capture you to be my wife? As expected, Wang Susu gritted her teeth and looked at Li Yuanqing angrily. Tell me, are you with Feng Zhou? Li Yuanqing shook his head helplessly. Why could this woman ask such a question? Could it be that all of them were like this? Miss Wang, think carefully. If I'm in cahoots with Feng Zhou, why would he give me his personal treasure? Then where did you get it from? If you can't explain it clearly, don't blame me for being rude. Miss Wang, do you want to hear the truth? Of course it's the truth. To be honest, young Master Feng gave this saber to me out of interest because I helped young Master Feng capture you. The 2 of us have already helped you take a bath just now. When young Master returns, the 2 of you will sleep together. Bastard! I knew you were definitely not a good person. As Wang Susu spoke, she was about to cut down with the white jade treasure saber. At this moment, Li Yuanqing moved his hand, and a very profound array formation was waved out, instantly enveloping the 2 of them. This was a control array. After Wang Susu was enveloped by this array, she immediately stood on the spot. Her curvaceous body still retained the tenacity from when she was angry just now. Li Yuanqing gently reached out and took the white jade saber from Wang Susu's hand. Then, he placed it on his back and shook his head helplessly at Wang Susu. If I were that kind of lecherous person, how could you have waited until now? Wang Susu's face turned red as she glared at Li Yuanqing with her almond-shaped eyes. Since you don't like me, I'll take my leave. Thank you for your generosity. After Li Yuanqing finished speaking, he walked out of the cave. He still maintained Zhao Tian's image. He had been out for a long time today. It was time to go back. Otherwise, the sect would definitely discover him. I originally wanted to send you back when you woke up, but from the looks of it, the eldest daughter of the Wang family should be as strong as her temper. It seems like there's no need for me to spend so much effort to send you back. Li Yuanqing had already walked to the entrance of the cave. Then we'll meet again if fate allows it. He took a step out of the cave and suddenly felt a very powerful divine sense about to land in front of him. Li Yuanqing immediately retracted his hand. In the valley, 2 people were guarding it and searching everywhere. Li Yuanqing only glanced at them and recognized them as the 2 people who followed Wang Susu out. He cursed in his heart. These young ladies were indeed different. They had many marks on their bodies just by going out. Even though he was so careful, he was still found. Wang Susu saw that this guy was indeed extraordinary. She had just relaxed, but now, she immediately became nervous again. She stared fixedly at Li Yuanqing and watched as he walked towards her, but she was helpless. What are you doing? Wang Susu squeezed out a few words. Li Yuanqing went up and carried Wang Susu's soft body on his shoulder. He slapped her but said, "Miss Wang, I'll have to trouble you to come with me again." In the valley, a bolt of lightning struck without any explanation. "Shoshan, you brat, pay with your life." A very inconspicuous blood-red seed secretly climbed up the cliff. In a corner that no one noticed, it slowly climbed up to a high point. In the middle of the valley, Fang Qianyuan and Wang Qiushan stared at each other angrily. Not far from the two of them, Wang Xiaoyuan and Fang Dan were sitting on the mountaintop. There was still blood at the corner of their mouths and their faces were pale. The two of them had their eyes closed and were digesting the medicinal effect of the pill. The battle just now had injured these people, especially when they were chasing after each other. In order to protect their young master and young lady, they did not care about the price and had many hidden injuries on their bodies. Fang Qianyuan. Wang Qiushan's eyes were bloodshot as he stared coldly at Fang Qianyuan. "Our two families have never had any grudges. We participated in this auction with our own abilities, but the three of you insisted on forcing us and even made false accusations." "I made false accusations?" Fang Qianyuan suddenly raised his left hand. A bloody head hung on his hand. It was Zhuai Hun. Zhuai Hun's mouth was still fluttering slightly. It seemed like he was not completely dead. Fang Qianyuan took out the disc again. There was a pure white dot on it. The dot was at their feet, but the light here was already very dim and blurry. Fang Qianyuan saw that the small light on the disc was actually so dim. In his anger, he suddenly exerted strength in his left hand. A powerful vibration spread down, and the already bloody head below instantly exploded into a bloody mist that scattered down. The blood rain and minced meat fell into the plants below, causing the strange-looking plants below to fight for them. The originally bright plants became even more crystalline after swallowing the power-filled blood. Their waists swayed gently, as if they were not satisfied. They grew taller towards the sky, as if they were asking for the next feast. In the domain space, Li Yuanqing looked at the scenes in the valley through the seeds of the blood vine and rubbed his chin, thinking about how he should go back later. He had been out for long enough. He had originally wanted to sell the things and prepare some materials he needed to return to the medicinal garden. But who would have thought that such an episode would happen? Moreover, he had been delayed for so long. It seemed like there was no way to escape for the time being. The two fellows in this scene each had their own methods. Although Fang Qianyuan was a little old, his strength was strong. Even though his strength might be damaged after a long battle, this old man was still a peak martial saint. Killing two martial saint realm juniors was like cutting vegetables for him. How could he survive if he fell into his hands with his cultivation? As a high-level alchemist, Wang Qiushan had endless treasures in his hands. Every time Fang Qianyuan approached him and was about to gain the upper hand, Wang Qiushan would always take out two treasures to escape. Wang Susu's mouth was sealed by energy and she could not make a sound. She could only widen her watery eyes and observe her surroundings. Li Yuanqing's domain space was so huge that she could not see the end of it. It was like a completely small world. Moreover, there were many types of plants and all kinds of animals. It was really a self-sufficient small world. In addition, the mountain of snacks was placed aside like trash and was not taken seriously at all. Only a corner of the area behind the Spirit Stone Mountain was revealed, but the things revealed were all abnormally precious. Li Yuanqing looked at Wang Susu. This eldest miss seemed to be able to help him escape, but how he should use her was troublesome. Wang Susu seemed to have noticed Li Yuanqing's gaze. In addition, she could guess what Li Yuanqing was thinking. Wang Susu twisted her waist and winked at Li Yuanqing. Li Yuanqing examined her for a while and suddenly swung his hand to undo the seal on her mouth. "Let's be clear. I don't like to hear nonsense." Wang Susu waited for Li Yuanqing to stop before saying excitedly, "Where's Fang Zhou? Why are you here? What's it to you?" Wang Susu looked at Li Yuanqing in disbelief. "I didn't expect you to be able to kill that idiot. How stupid is that guy?" Li Yuanqing's face twitched slightly. This woman's words were too vicious. He raised his hand to Wang Susu's mouth. Seeing that her lips were about to be sealed again, Wang Susu hurriedly raised her hand to interrupt. "Brother, Young hero, I have nothing to say. Don't keep blocking my mouth. I don't think you can say anything useful. Just stay here obediently. Li Yuanqing looked at Wang Qiushan in the image. I think your Cloud Sky sect has a pretty strong foundation to be able to raise such a powerful alchemist. They must be willing to spend a huge sum of money to save their sect's young lady, right? Li Yuanqing originally wanted to use this to scare Wang Susu, but reality was indeed useless. When Wang Susu heard his words, she was a little nervous at first, but on second thought, she laughed out loud. What are you laughing at? Young hero, you don't seem to have figured out your situation. What's wrong with my situation? I think your situation is more dangerous. If you're willing, you can kill me at any time. She paused and continued, however, if that's the case, you will offend the Cloud Sky sect and Feng North Mountain at the same time. Li Yuanqing sized up Wang Susu. This Miss Wang was smart. At first, she was a little flustered, but now, she has completely recovered. Before Wang Susu could finish speaking, she felt as if she had grasped Li Yuanqing's lifeline. She said proudly, young hero, you've just carried a murder case on your back and are already Feng North Mountain's #1 enemy. I'm afraid you're not willing to have such a large sect chasing you all day long. Li Yuanqing nodded slightly and placed his hand on Wang Susu's mouth. Miss Wang, you have a point, but it's useless to me. Wang Susu was showing off proudly just now, but she did not expect Li Yuanqing to be so stubborn. She had just said a few words when he was about to fall out with her. She said anxiously, I have a way out later. Li Yuanqing's hand slid halfway and stopped in the middle of Wang Susu's lips. Miss Wang, I hope I heard a useful answer this time, not useless nonsense. Is this the Phoenix Cry Valley? That's right, I think so. The Phoenix Cry Valley is the cultivation ground of one of my uncles. I didn't feel any aura when I came in just now. It doesn't look like anyone is here. Li Yuanqing pointed at the two people in the sky. If this place really had an owner, how could they tolerate others causing such a ruckus? Wang Susu explained, my uncle has always liked to travel around. This Phoenix Valley is a cultivation ground that my father specially gave to my uncle. Because my uncle likes peace and quiet, he chose this place that is slightly further away from the sect. You mean that someone from your sect will be able to rush over to support us soon? Not really. Wang Susu was afraid that Li Yuanqing would silence her again, so she hurriedly said, however, there's a small teleportation array in the Phoenix Cry Valley that can directly reach the periphery of the sect. As long as we get there, we'll be safe. Oh.
Li Yuanqing frowned.
This was a good idea. Originally, he had thought that if he really could not get out, he would hide here forever. Although he did not know why he was chased here, he had a domain space to hide in, so his life was not in danger. However, it would be difficult to explain to the sect if he did not return for a long time. It would be troublesome if he lost such a good job. Seeing that there was a chance, Wang Susu immediately brought out a map. A three-dimensional terrain map appeared in front of them. Wang Susu fiddled with it for a while and finally arranged all the locations. Young hero, look. This is the entire Phoenix Cry Valley. Where are the two of us now? Li Yuanqing nodded at the valley on the east. In a very remote corner of the valley, a yellow spot flickered gently. This is where the teleportation array is. As long as you can bring me here, I have a way to activate the array and bring us out of here. While the two of us were talking, the two people in the image suddenly started fighting. Feng Qinyuan held the long saber in his hand and summoned a huge Dharma idol that was 10,000 feet tall behind him. He waved it and charged at Wang Qiushan with a huge pressure. Wang Qiushan was not easy to deal with either. Two golden puppets appeared in front of him. These two fellows suddenly grew thousands of feet tall. The two golden armored guards rushed forward fearlessly. They raised their spears from the left and right and formed a shelf to forcefully withstand the long saber of the huge Dharma idol. The two of them collided and caused an explosion. The aftershock spread out, blowing all the plants on the mountaintop back. The violent collision caused the entire scene to tremble violently. The bloodvine seed seemed to be unable to withstand it. The two sides seemed to be in a stalemate just like that. However, just as Wang Qiushan relaxed, the golden Dharma idol suddenly stretched out an arm from behind. It held a golden sword in its hand and stabbed at the head of the golden-armored guard on the right. Wang Qiushan was shocked when he saw this. His two treasures were already very powerful, and he had high hopes for them. He thought that he could resist them, but who knew that Feng Qianyuan would ignore his life? The moment the golden Dharma idol stretched out its arm, Feng Qianyuan's face flushed red. He seemed to be holding back blood and was about to vomit. Wang Qiushan did not dare to be careless. He hurriedly stretched out his hand and took out a short dagger to cut his palm. Blood spewed out and splattered on the golden-armored guard. The bodies of the two golden-armored guards were suddenly dyed red, and they began to tremble violently. When Feng Qianyuan saw this, his pupils suddenly constricted. He immediately stopped attacking. He let the golden Dharma idol block in front while he flew back, as if he had discovered something very terrifying. He wished he could abandon everything and escape. However, it was already too late when he retreated. Just as the two golden-armored guards were about to be stabbed by the sword, they suddenly exploded. With the two of them as the center, it rushed towards Feng Qianyuan at a fan-shaped angle. The aftermath of the explosion was mixed with countless fragments that kept hitting Feng Qianyuan's shield. Feng Qianyuan risked his life and poured all his strength into the turtle shell behind him, trying to block the impact. However, the energy wave produced by the explosion still swallowed him. At the bottom of the valley, the man and woman slowly felt their way along the wall at the bottom of the valley. They took advantage of the intense collision just now and ran forward for a distance. Soon, they would approach their destination. At this moment, an intense collision happened above. The strong explosion forced them to stop in their tracks and summon their shields. They turned into two golden balls and stuck in the corner below. How far is it? Li Yuanqing was holding a chain that was burning with flames in his hand, and the other end was tied to Wang Susu's waist. Wang Susu pointed at a small door covered in dense plants in the distance. It's there. Li Yuanqing looked in the direction of the small door and moved his feet, bringing Wang Susu to the periphery. Wang Susu carefully stopped and said in a panic, "Young hero, you have to take it easy. There are traps everywhere here. If it touches you, neither of us will be able to escape." Li Yuanqing did not look at it. He only placed his gaze on the dusty door. It had not been opened for a long time. He naturally would not tell Wang Susu that he was also a true array formation master. After so long, he had already figured out the pattern of the array formation in front of him, so he dared to instantly close the distance. "Are you sure there's a teleportation array here?" "Of course." Wang Susu walked to the door and pressed a hand on the stone door. At this moment, another powerful aftershock suddenly came from the sky. The flames that had devoured Feng Qianyuan had already formed a fireball and forcefully contracted. Every time it contracted, it would emit an energy fluctuation, and the power inside was even more condensed. Wang Qiushan actually wanted to forcefully refine Feng Qianyuan. "Master, kill him." Seeing that the situation was great, Wang Susu was no longer anxious and subconsciously exclaimed. Wang Qiushan's ears twitched, and he suddenly looked down. He instantly noticed Wang Susu and the others below. "Miss, why are you here? Who is that person?"
Li Yuanqing prasa Bang Susu's shoulder.
"Open it quickly." "Junior, stop." Wang Susu pressed down with one palm, and the originally dusty stone door lit up with distorted patterns. The stone door slowly opened, revealing a very bright and narrow space inside. In this space, there was only a brand new teleportation array in the middle. Beside it were some various spirit stones. "What are you doing?" Wang Susu glared at Li Yuanqing unhappily. Her own people had already gained the upper hand in the sky. Wang Susu felt that there was no need to escape anymore. Instead, she could stay here and help. Li Yuanqing did not think so at all. Instead, he pushed Wang Susu into the house and chased her in. His expression was not good. "If you want to die, go yourself. Open this teleportation array first. I don't want to die with the two of you. Master already has the upper hand now. He will be able to take down Feng Qianyuan soon." Wang Susu glared at Li Yuanqing angrily. She thought that Li Yuanqing was someone who did not know anything. Li Yuanqing squatted down in front of the array formation and said coldly, "Your master has many treasures on him, but he still lacks some combat experience. You have to know that you can't be distracted when facing the enemy. He has already caused a huge disaster by being so distracted. If you don't ask for help, he'll be finished. You're talking nonsense. Wang Susu rushed to the door and looked up. Originally, Wang Qiushan seemed to have the upper hand in the confrontation. Moreover, he was constantly compressing his fireball, as if he was constantly suppressing Fang Qinyuan's living space. However, after the huge fireball shrank to a certain extent, it suddenly trembled violently. At first, the trembling was very weak, but it became more and more intense. The fireball could no longer withstand it. Wang Qiushan had no choice but to focus all his attention on controlling the fireball. However, he realized that no matter how hard he tried, the fireball could not be stopped. Wang Qiushan suddenly took out a cauldron. After the cauldron quickly expanded and circled in the air, it flew towards the fireball and landed on it, shrinking it. There was a purple gold lion carved on the roof. It opened its bloody mouth and spat out purple gold flames. The lion seemed to have come alive. It slowly crawled out of the surface of the furnace and climbed onto the mouth of the roof. It blew the purple gold flames in its mouth completely and kept burning them into the furnace. The mane on the lion's head slowly fluttered like a real spirit beast. Just as Wang Qiushan heaved a sigh of relief, a golden phoenix suddenly crawled out of the fireball and soared into the sky. At first, the phoenix was only the size of a palm, but after escaping from the top of the furnace, it instantly became huge and became 1,000 feet long. The big phoenix suddenly slashed down with one claw and grabbed the purple gold lion like it was grabbing a bug. Wang Qiushan turned pale with fright and hurriedly wanted to control his Lion King cauldron to return. However, the phoenix did not give him the chance at all. This fellow was unwilling to give up after obtaining benefits. It directly placed the purple gold lion by the hard beak and kept tearing it. In the beginning, the purple gold lion was still arrogant, but now that it landed on the phoenix's claw, it no longer had the arrogance of the beast king. The flames in its mouth had also become so weak, and the purple gold flames it spat out were all sucked into the phoenix's stomach. As the purple gold lion disappeared, the roof below could no longer control the fireball. A violent explosion came from the roof and exploded in all directions, splitting the roof of the purple gold furnace into two and causing it to fall weakly. Wang Qiushan exclaimed in shock, "My Lion King cauldron!" Fang Qinyuan's white hair swelled up in the wind, like pure white flames burning in the air. His eyes had turned pure white, emitting holy white flames. His eyes were expressionless as he stared coldly at Wang Qiushan, as if he was staring at a lifeless toy. "You forced me to do this." Wang Qiushan was already scared out of his wits. He was an alchemist to begin with. It was fine if he lived like a prince, but he rarely had the chance to make a move. Most of the enemies he encountered could be destroyed by his treasures easily. However, this time, he had encountered a tough nut to crack. This old man was stronger than him to begin with, and he had extremely rich combat experience. He did not expect to use such a move to blow his Lion King cauldron into two. Wang Qiushan took out a golden talisman and instantly stuck it on his body. His body disappeared. Fang Qinyuan's flaming hand grabbed empty air and slapped Wang Xiaoyuan, who was recovering, on the other cliff. He had just recovered and had yet to escape when he was treated as cannon fodder. He was slapped into a charred corpse and fell pitifully. "Ah!" Fang Qinyuan suddenly roared at the sky. The black disk appeared in front of him, and his gaze landed on the corner of the valley below. "Congratulations on signing in Phoenix Cry Valley base successfully. Reward received. Reward 1. Dharma Origin Idol. Reward 2. 100 bottles of Divine Origin Water." Li Yuanqing had just squatted beside the array formation when such a voice suddenly appeared in his mind. He did not expect to sign in successfully here. He had only used up one bottle of Divine Origin Water, so he was not in a hurry to replenish it. Choose the Dharma Origin Idol. Congratulations on obtaining the Dharma Origin Idol. Reward issued. Li Yuanqing suddenly felt his vision turn white. It was as if a strong light had suddenly hit his eyes, making him unable to see anything for a moment. He swayed in a daze a few times. After a long time, he finally recovered. Unknowingly, a very dignified Dharma idol appeared in front of him. This dermal idol was golden in color and had a benevolent and dignified smile on its face. Just as Li Yuanqing was about to take a closer look, a spiritual light suddenly flashed beside him and Wang Qiushan appeared. As soon as Wang Qiushan appeared, he knelt on the ground with a plop and spat out a mouthful of blood onto the teleportation array. Master! Wang Susu pounced on her master with tears in her eyes. She never expected her master to end up like this. Master, what's wrong? Wang Qiushan grabbed Wang Susu and looked at her weakly. Miss, it's good that you're fine. Let's leave quickly. Wang Susu wiped her tears and knelt beside the teleportation array with a plop, wanting to activate it. However, this array formation was still dark. No matter how Wang Susu changed the spirit stones, the patterns on it did not react. Only the outermost patterns retreated again after moving a few times, as if they had encountered some resistance. Wang Susu moved the spirit stones left and right anxiously, but no matter how she moved them, it was useless. Every time she changed them, it was the same scene. The more it was like this, the more nervous Wang Susu became. She didn't even know what her hands were doing. At this moment, a large hand suddenly grabbed Wang Susu's wrist. Wang Susu looked up and saw that it was Li Yuanqing. What are you doing? He'll be here soon. If he comes, we'll all die here. Wang Susu thought that Li Yuanqing was still going to bargain at this point. Li Yuanqing stared at the two of them and said coldly, "If you don't understand, move aside." He threw Wang Susu to the side and squatted in the middle of the array. One of his fingers suddenly turned pitch black, and he gently pressed on the connection of the patterns, sliding it with an extremely focused expression. Wang Susu was about to stop him when Wang Qiushan stopped her. Master! Wang Qiushan shook his head gently and stared at Li Yuanqing with a frown. This kid has the unique aura of an array master. He will definitely be able to bring us out of here. Wang Susu also followed her master's gaze. Li Yuanqing's focused expression and motionless figure seemed to be emitting a very unique energy outside. That aura enveloped his entire body, as if he had an additional shell outside. Wang Susu thought that this young man only knew how to joke around with her. She did not expect him to have such a serious side.
Bang!
A powerful energy struck the dome of the hut. Agitated by the flames, the incomparably hard hut that was supported by an array formation was shattered into pieces. Those fragments shattered in all directions. There was also a huge rock that smashed down on Li Yuanqing's head. Wang Qiushan stretched out his hand and turned the huge rock into powder, landing at the side. The three of them were completely exposed to Fang Qianyuan. Fang Qianyuan's pure white eyes stared down expressionlessly, like two pillars of fire locking onto the three of them. Master, he's catching up. Wang Qiushan looked at the sky with a gloomy expression and forced himself to stand up. Energy slowly gathered beside him. Fang Qianyuan, don't go too far. Fang Qianyuan's voice seemed to come from outer space. It was very clear and deep. All of you, you have to die with the young sect master. As soon as he finished speaking, the arm was raised high, and the long saber in his hand turned hot white. Wang Qiushan's eyes revealed a sorrowful expression. He suddenly took out a large pile of shields. Some were refined from pure turtle shells, some were golden round shields, and some were like thick city walls. He used all these different shields to shield everyone, and turned around to look at Li Yuanqing anxiously. He did not know when Li Yuanqing would be done. Could it be that Miss would completely die here because of him? Just as Wang Qiushan was feeling vexed, Li Yuanqing's body suddenly lit up with a holy light. Wang Qiushan shook his head. He thought that he had seen it wrongly. In just a short while, the light on Li Yuanqing's body had dissipated and everything returned to normal. Just as Wang Qiushan heaved a sigh of relief, Wang Susu suddenly exclaimed. An incomparably huge Dharma idol had appeared above their heads. This Dharma idol was 10,000 feet tall. One of its feet covered the bottom of the valley, and the top of its head could not be seen. Wang Qiushan could not help but gasp when he saw this Dharma idol. In front of him, Fang Qianyuan, who no longer had any human feelings, took a few steps back when he saw this Dharma idol. The long saber in his hand stopped moving. The huge Dharma idol slowly raised a foot and slowly and firmly stepped on Fang Qianyuan. Fang Qianyuan seemed to be frozen and could not move. He could only watch as the Dharma idol stepped on him. His body lit up with a strong light. The hot white flames burned fiercely, and a white barrier was instantly formed. Just as Wang Qiushan was engrossed in reading, he suddenly heard a voice. "Go!" A light flashed past the three people who were here just now and instantly disappeared. The teleportation array that was originally quite exquisite had also turned into ruins. Fang Qinyuan held a long saber in his hand and kept injecting energy into the white barrier in front of him. The flames burned very pure, and the dazzling light seemed to pierce through people. But nothing came. The Dharma idol disappeared just like that. It disappeared without a trace, leaving nothing behind. The auras of the three people disappeared together. The entire valley instantly fell silent, leaving him alone. He was still standing above the ruins. Fang Qinyuan looked above his head in surprise. It was already empty. He realized that he had been tricked. He suddenly looked down and saw that the three fellows had already fled without a trace. He waved the huge saber and smashed it heavily towards the teleportation array below, shattering it. "Cloud Sky Sect, I will never forgive you." This intense roar spread for more than 100 miles before gradually calming down. 1,000 miles away, in an inconspicuous straw hut in an immortal-like valley, the three of them walked out together. The disciples stationed outside looked at the unfamiliar man in front of them in shock, not knowing what to do. "You." He pointed at Li Yuanqing in a daze and carefully recalled if he had seen such a person before. Just as he was feeling puzzled, two more people walked out from behind, supporting each other. "Miss?" The disciple hurriedly went forward. "Master Wang? What happened to you?" Wang Qiushan ignored him. He took out a jade pendant from his waist and crushed it. "Guard here well. Gather all the personnel and guard this place strictly." Li Yuanqing's expression changed slightly. He carefully identified the direction and turned to the two of them. He bade farewell and said, "Since you've already returned safely, my mission is completed. I'll take my leave now." "You can't leave,"